But, well, they have de-escalated, they've left, they've gone back to wherever they came from. We want to assure the government that we will cooperate if they approach things in a decent manner. Absolutely. But we will not be intimidated. Let's engage. We are political actors. Let's assure the people that we are ready to uphold the promises of the Constitution and democracy. This must stop.
I even applaud the president. The president quickly responded by saying that there should be collaborative investigation. Then all of a sudden, the spokesperson to the president, who is throwing his weight about, and he must be sacked. He is rather undermining the position of the president. He rather said that even the investigation is useless because Honorable Fojo did not provide any evidence. Meanwhile, the president had instructed that there should be a collaborative investigation, and then you, as a spokesperson to the president, you are rather supposed to amplify what the president says and then explain it further. You are rather articulating a position.
Whether it's the director general, whether it's the director in charge of operation, or from Jubilee House, or maybe for Fukwachi send them, they will know if they are doing the right thing. They shouldn't be perturbed about the numbers. But because they know what they are doing is wrong, that's why they've left. They can call so many people who come and support them. Their due process must be followed. Their due process must be followed.
Let us support our security services and the Ghana Armed Forces with information that is useful and intelligence that is helpful, that will advance their work rather than retrogress it. Let me reiterate that we will take all allegations of crime seriously and trigger our security service investigative machinery to go after criminals, no matter who they are. But let me state emphatically also that we do not have the resources and time to engage in any game of smoke and mirrors.
Reliable intelligence intercepted by the Minority Caucus indicates that on March 20th, 2025, Air Med flight N823AM, which is an air ambulance, and I must stress, it's an air ambulance, designed specifically to carry patients, landed at Kotoka International Airport in Accra, Ghana, and remained in the country for 5 days before departing 1 a.m. on March 25th, 2025, back to Gran Canaria. Our intelligence further persists that no patient was transported by the said Air Med flight, neither to nor from Accra. There is no evidence of medical referral of or patients accompanying or on board the flight on either legs of the flight. We are reliably informed that contrary to the expectation that the Air Med flight would carry patients, the purpose for which it was designed and operates, it rather on this occasion carried suspicious cargo suspected to be cocaine and cash in various United States dollars denominations. In a related development, a private jet, Kavok Air Antonov An-12B, also landed at Kotoka International Airport on March 12, 2025.
Well, so that was the, what do you say, the under fire or the most wanted, the famous Ascent South Member of Parliament, Reverend Intim Fojo there. We had to play this back because this is what started all of this, what has been best described as the drama surrounding these two flights and the content, the purpose of these flights that landed in Ghana. This has evolved over time and in many phases. The latest, as we do know, a number of things happened this week that the company that actually runs these flights are saying they are ready to cooperate with the Ghanaian government if there has to be any probe or investigation into the matter. But this week, the National Intelligence Bureau officials paid a visit to the Member of Parliament for Asin South, Reverend Tim Fojo, who is the originator of this, all of this, how things are playing out. What you're seeing on the screen is Reverend Tim Fojo capturing from his window the entrance of these National Intelligence Bureau officials to his home. Now, not long after this particular video was taken, and in fact, we put it out here on TV3 earlier, the executives of the New Patriotic Party stormed his house to, as it were, prevent his arrest, because earlier the National Intelligence Bureau said they had extended an invitation to him, but he, according to them, had refused to attend to the said invitation. The New Patriotic Party is demanding that the right thing be done by going through the Speaker to have this Member of Parliament invited. Well, Minority Leader Alexander Penyoma came essentially together with the NPP executives and some MPs who stormed the place, prevented the said arrest. But then again, fundamental question is, does the Member of Parliament have the said intelligence? What does he intend to use it for? How does he intend to surrender the said intelligence to the state intelligence agencies to work with it? What exactly is the issue? Why is all of this drama and the circus of confusion as we see right now? So that's a conversation we'll be having this morning, because we have a security analyst who understands how things play out in this particular space. We have lawyers who are going to be joining us as well to have a conversation on this, so that we put our mind to rest. There are some of you who think that this is a diversionary tactic and to sway our minds off other things. But, well, this morning as well, we still keep focus on the quest and the journey to find these ECG missing containers. Well, since the announcement by the Energy and Green Transition Minister that these containers cannot be found at the place of origin, that's actually the ports, every week we get reports of the content of ECG containers, either meters or these wires being found, or cables being found at one location or the other. This week we saw some in the Ashanti region, in the western region, either dumped somewhere in the bush or in a warehouse or in an abandoned building, uncompleted building. So what is going on, really? Well, we'll have a conversation this morning and we'll get the latest into what is happening right now. This week, the president issued a directive suspending the grant of contract extension to public service or public servants, or appointment of retired public service staff, with immediate effect. So the letter we have a copy of, dated 2nd April 2025, signed by Dr. Callistus Mahama, Secretary to the President. Presidency announced that all post-retirement contract appointments are to be put on hold. This decision, indeed, is expected to affect several ongoing and pending contract arrangements across public sector institutions. This has not really gone down well with Labour. A number of them disagree. We will talk about it. Well, by others who have hailed government for this decision. But what does the law say? And is it in tandem with what the president, indeed, through his secretary, has issued? And why the concerns of TUC? We'll have a conversation this morning. After this quick break, my guests will join me. We'll get on to the conversation. We're live as well on 3FM 92.7 and on a number of radio stations across the country. This morning, stay with us. We've got some goodies for you as well, our viewers, to take home. So we'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us.
love in the air.
Welcome back. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7 on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. Well, this is where we start the journey this morning. Earlier this week, this is the letter or the directive that came through from the presidency. The grant of post-retirement contract appointments to retired public service staff has been suspended with immediate effect. This was a letter that was dated the 2nd of April. Consequently, all requests for such appointments will no longer be considered. And then it goes on to say, take note, this directive ensures strict compliance. Dr. Callistus Mahama, Secretary to the President. Well, yesterday we got to know that there's been an exception to this particular directive, as was put out by the Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu, that lecturers are exempted, and we'll tell you why. Well, but then again, what does the law say? Because the Trade Union Congress says it cannot be the case that this directive doesn't take into consideration, critical skills that may not be readily available. People who are experienced over time, and if this is not extended, they exit, they would then not have any immediate replacement. Do they have a case? Well, we'll have a conversation this morning, but this is what Article 109 of the 1902 Constitution says, and I will put it on the screen. A public officer shall, except as otherwise provided in this Constitution, retire from the public service on attaining the age of 60 years. It's there. A public officer may, except as otherwise provided in this Constitution, retire from the public service at any time after attaining the age of 45. So that's really voluntary retirement or any other circumstance that will get you out into retirement after the age of 45. Well, yes, the law makes provision for that. Then also, the pension payable to any person shall be exempt from tax. It goes on, notwithstanding clause 1 of this article, a public officer who has retired from the public service after attaining the age of 60 years may, where the exigencies of the service require, be engaged for a limited period of not more than 2 years at a time, but not exceeding 5 years in all, and upon such other terms and conditions as the appointing authority shall determine. So there's an exception to clause 1, but then again there's a limit to that. Yes, if there are the exigencies of the time, the person's skill is needed, cannot be readily replaced, the person can be engaged for a limited period of not more than 2 years at a time, but not exceeding 5 years, essentially not exceeding 65 years, in all upon such other terms and conditions as appointing authority shall determine. Well, you know what? We'll have the lawyers join us as we get into a bit more of this and what this really means. This is not the first time we've gone on this path. In fact, sometime in 2001, the Public Services Commission issued a similar directive. So why are we at this point again? After 2001, 2025, we are having this conversation again. But this is what happened in 2001. The Public Service Commission issued this directive, essentially the proscribed post-retirement contracts above practice has been identified as one of the greatest impediments to effective succession plan within the public service. They identified this in July 2001 as one of the greatest impediments to effective succession planning within the public service. This post-retirement contracts. This is as of 2001. At the same time, it is seen as constituting a serious blockade to smooth career progression for younger blood within the service, thereby creating a disincentive to committed performance. And to take note of this, they describe this as one of the greatest impediments to effective succession and young blood, as Johnny Hughes has been saying, not giving them the chance. Government has accordingly decided to proscribe this practice, as in do away with it. This is 2001. Exceptions are, however, to be allowed in two specific areas: contract appointments of medical, paramedical personnel, as well as university lecturers. Even so, these permissible contracts appointments must not only be justified beyond all reasonable doubt, but should also be effected in accordance with laid down procedure. So in 2001, there was the exception for the university lecturers and the medical and paramedical staff as well, who were giving that exception to this particular directive. So we are back at the same point. Yesterday we got to know that the university lecturers have also been exempted from this directive contained in that letter signed by Dr. Callistus Mahama on the 2nd of April, 2025. Well, TUC is not happy. We'll hear from Joshua Ansa in a bit, but we'll also have Thomas Musa Tanko joining us. Joining us in the studio, let's start off on Zoom. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. He is a member of the Operation Recover All Loads preparatory team that has wrapped up its work, and the convener for the Komipreku Reloaded demonstration. Martin Pebo is out of the jurisdiction, is joining us on Zoom. Also joining us in a bit, we'll have a private legal practitioner and then also a former member of parliament, Yonobo Andiapia, could be joining us in a bit. Also, we have Nelson Roxon Dafia Mekpo, who is the majority chief whip of this 9th parliament, and also the member of parliament for the South Dai constituency, joining us. He's a private legal practitioner in good standing as well. The Honorable Nelson Roxon Dafia Mekpo, good morning, welcome.
Morning. Morning to you. Morning to my senior brother, the Honorable Austin Game, and who was Deputy Minister, I believe, some 30 years ago, and is still here and contributing his quota to the growth and progress of this nation. And good morning to my good people in Southern, Peki, Palik, Bovento. And kudos to the new Trafofia of Peki Jogbati. Yesterday he was installed in a very beautiful ceremony. So Togo, you are welcome. And I believe that we'll be able to deal with the issues as we got them before us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, you nearly took the wind out of my sail, but as you indicated, Austin Game is a former deputy minister, a former member of parliament, as a matter of fact, for North Tong constituency. He is very well celebrated in the sector of labor and also mediation. He's an expert in that area. He's with us in the studio. So, Austin, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Grateful.
And we'll have a few persons also joining us on Zoom. But I'll start off with this. Zagame, start off with you. This particular directive that came through from the presidency, and I referenced what happened in 2001 to put matters in context. But is it one that is a good call at this time? Or the concern that Labour is raising that they have to be engaged further is one that has to be considered?
All right, thank you. Greetings to all those who are watchers and listeners of TV3. I'm grateful. To be honest with you, I was a little taken aback when I heard that it was coming from my friends, my comrades, from the TUC, or for that matter, organized labor. I say so because it is quite explicit in the Constitution and also in the Labour Act regarding how we should manage people with reference to retirement issues, and also concerning how people can be employed even if they retire, and so forth and so on. What is expected of employers and the right of workers during and in the course of their working period. I think that is to say the least, is most unfortunate that it has to be said from that angle. But that said, they may have a genuine reason for raising it. That notwithstanding, perhaps we will take advantage of today's program to educate and assist our countrymen to appreciate that it's not an intention, I'm sure, of the executive to deliberately deny people who attain 60 years and are supposed to be on retirement, and if they have any further thing to contribute, that they will not be able to contribute. Let's put it that way. As you rightly indicated, Article 199 of the 1992 Constitution is very explicit that one is to retire at age 60. I was part of the commission. I represented NAT on the Pensions Commission to put together the pensions plan for the country. And after extensive study and searching around the world, we've concluded that we have to firm up what is in the Constitution because of the exigencies of the demand at the time. And I think it's quite relevant today as well. So that is no longer in doubt. That first of all, the 1992 Constitution firmed up under Article 199 that the retiring age is 60 years, as it were. Aside that, in the Labour Act, there are quite clear provisions provided to enable employers to go through a transition when you are working, to have people to be trained, retrained, their skills developed. And today in the balance of a modern world, we're not just talking about succession plan, but we go through a rigorous process of mentoring and coaching to get people ready to take over top-level jobs. So, and that's where organized labor should be interested, because in various collective agreements, some of which I participated in putting together, there are clear-cut provisions made for training of working people from the shop floor level to the highest level to enable people to take over from time to time. Now, if you go to section 9, subsection D, it says that employers, it is their duty to develop the human resource by way of training and retraining of the workers. Then in section 10, which is the right of the worker, under section 10, subsection E, it says that workers, it is their right to be trained, retrained for the development of his or her skills, and to receive information, subsection F, information relevant to his or her work. So it is intended to support the growth and development of working people. So they should be a little troubled to hear that people in this country have been overly using that genuine, kind of situation where people, when they retire, they are given opportunity to either work for some 1 year or so. Now, under the same Labour Act, it is clear that you can engage people on contract for 6 months or more. You can engage people on temporary basis for 6 months or more. You can engage people on to work on part-time basis. So all these provisions were provided for having in mind the future of the country. Because we are now running into 24-hour economy. Indeed, we don't need a new law to run a 24-hour economy. There are shifts
provided for in the law.
Exactly.
There are provisions already provided for in the law. You don't need amendment of the labor law. You don't need amendment, a new labor law. You don't need anything new. Everything is already in the law. All we need is to expand it into an LI 1833 by giving Philip to what really should be done when you want to implement the 24-hour economy. So clearly those who are clamoring and inching and pushing for people is to me that kind of thinking and not reminding ourselves of the younger people. We have over 14.7, could be more, people who are unemployed. Over millions and millions of people. And we need to train people. You know, I'm 76 this year, and I'll be 76 this year, and I am actively working because I have moved from the public sector into me creating job and employing other people. That's what I would like to encourage people who are about to retire to do. They should develop their skills. They should be able to contribute to the growth of the business of the country and not hanging onto public sector jobs just because they think that they have experience. What is about experience? What is about experience? So clearly, I don't think that it's a fair call, and I applaud what the executive have done. The exceptions, as announced yesterday, it has always been there. The intent has always been there. So, as giving people who are, lecturing at the university at a certain level for some few more years is good. It's a good call. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've been teaching. I'm still teaching at the university as well at my age, and so I don't think that is anything new. But people should stop clamoring for people to stay over and above their age.
Well, but the concern of TUC is that, I mean, at this particular point that this directive has come, if you have people who have certain critical skills that cannot be readily replaced, that should also be considered. But let's hear from Joshua Ansa, who is the Secretary General of the TUC, the exact concern they have about this directive. Take a look.
Situation in this country is very dire, and maybe the youth are yearning for a job, and they think that if you have reached your retirement age, why do you still be in office? But like I said, yes, if you be a penny womb, if you're a penny name, na yefi papa. I think that it should have been a process. There should have been a transition period or consultation or discussion before maybe that decision would have been made. But once that's been made, let's see how it goes. For me, I always say that the development of this country is the hallmark for every Ghanaian. So whatever policies that may come, that will help improve, develop the country, I'm for it. But any policy that comes and try to bring the development of this country down, I don't think you go for it. So let's see how it works for Ghana.
That's Joshua. So I say, if you be a man, there has to be some old person in the house, and they want engagement. So really, what's the point of departure on this?
Look, I respect him, and he is my very good friend. He knows. I'm sure he's listening to you now. And I support the idea that there should be transition. Transition is what is provided for in the law. The transition is for us to train, retrain, develop the skill of the people, mentor them, coach them, and prepare them to take over higher responsibilities. We should stop hanging around the issue about this elderly type of thing. I'm an elderly person myself, and I'm very clear in my mind that that is not the intent of what the law provides for. I was a chairman of the committee that wrote this law, and I do know very, very well. We generated over 2,000 pages of information arriving at these sessions, and clearly the intent of it is that people should be developed. People should be prepared to take over higher responsibilities. clearly it is not intended that we should have people just because they have come of age, they may have some kind of experience. What about the great people? If you take the living general like Professor Frimpong Boateng, he left cardio. Cardio is still running. Professor Frimpong Boateng left cardio. Cardio, he trained people, and people are there. And the Dr. Sri Boss and the rest who have come there, they've also left. They've trained people. What about Professor Ismon and the rest who left the medical field? How about Professor Bedu Akosa, who left the field? There are other people. There are media people who have trained other media people and are there. That's what we have done to our football, and today we have destroyed our football. I live in Adabraka and schooled in this in there. And clearly what it is that we used to have the great Colts teams like Mao, like Noble Erics and the rest of them. They developed, and we had people like the latest people who came through were the Shamokui and the rest of them. Because we have stopped training and developing the skill of people through Colts, football, today we have destroyed our football. And we are lamenting. That lamentation.
So you apply that same principle to the public service in terms of the development. And,
precisely.
But you said you were part of the committee that wrote this law. What was the intent? And is it still relevant after the evolution of time till now?
It's a futuristic law. It's not written for 19th century. It's written for 22nd century. We were looking far beyond. In the same spirit, if you take the pension scheme, the same thing. We were futuristic in developing it. There's nothing really new. We were thinking about, indeed, we were thinking about a 24-hour economy. Far back. Far back. That's why the law is written the way it's written. So you don't need a new law to implement a 24-hour economy. The shifts are provided for in the thing. Everything that ought to be done, the protection, the safety and health, everything that ought to be prepared for future of Ghana is provided for in the law. Anytime you want an expansion of anything, you go and bring a provision into an LI. LI 1833 that we have been a little poorly written. All we need to do is to beef it up and not disturb the arrangement, as it were, in the law itself. So clearly, I support the call by organized labor, or TUC, that people should be developed, but not having people to be put on contract for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years is an abuse. And it is depriving young people from ascending to the height. And so, what about if you die? What about if those people die? Readily, will there be people? So, senior people in this country, I'm training people, to be honest with you. I'm training people, developing people. If I live here just now, I'm going to meet some lawyers, I'm going to meet some medical people, I'm going to meet some HR people, I'm going to meet chiefs, I'm going to meet people and training them in mediation and negotiation today up to 3 p.m. So clearly we must learn to do that.
I see. And Lord Afenqua, yes, I'll bring you in because you are in Parliament, the House of Laws. And to the extent that this directive is backed by law, but then again, the TUC says the law must also acknowledge the realities and the exigencies of the time. So much so that Public Services Commission directive that I referenced in 2001 considered some exigencies and made some exceptions. The Constitution itself also acknowledges some exceptions that has to be made. They are of the view that yes, if you don't want to continue, that's fine. But then again, consider the succession, because at this time, if this is implemented, we might just be losing critical, skilled people in the public service that maybe this directive was not intended for. Honorable.
Thank you very much. I see that my brother Martin Kwebu has come on to.
Indeed. Good morning. He will take his seat shortly. I'll acknowledge it. Don't worry. There are two people who are on the Zoom. So
okay. Good morning to him. Now, I am surprised the TUC it's somewhat against this deliberate policy position put out by government. I am really surprised.
Why?
Because it is TUC that is supposed to champion the interests of labor. And one of the key interests of labor is that we have very little space for the young ones to get promoted. That's one of the key interests. There's very little expansion. The top is capped. Look, as a member of the Public Accounts Committee, the Auditor General has had cause to flag this matter, that our public institutions are clogged by pensioners, people who attain the age of 60 and who use all manner of means to falsify birth dates, to backdate them, and so that they can stay on. Two, they've also flagged the fact that when especially the heads of institutions or departments, when they attain the age of 60, they then find favor with government and get contracts and extend their stay by 2 years or 2 years or 2 years plus 1. That is 221. That's the formula we call 221 for 5 years. Thereby clogging the opportunity for younger people.
So that's 2 years contract, another 2 years.
Yes, that's the law.
And then 1 year.
Yes, because the law says not up to a maximum of 5 years.
Okay.
But at any given time, it has to be 2 years. So we call it 221.
Right.
If you recall, I was in court about 2 years ago in respect of the renewal of a similar contract extension given to the then CEO of the Ghana Railway Development Authority. But given the exigencies, I abandoned the matter. But there's a litany of cases in this line, stretching far back from Yevu Ibo, who was some police superintendent sometime in 1993. They went to court. The Supreme Court had cause to pronounce on this matter. The court led by, the decision of the court was delivered by then Justice Amwansechi, made some very interesting pronouncements on the matter. 3 years later, when my venerable Austin Game and co were in Parliament, they got the opportunity, as a result of the position taken by the Supreme Court, then to amend the Constitution. That is how come you have a provision now added to Article 19914. It was as a result of the position taken by the court, speaking through Justice Amwansechi GSA at the time.
I see.
Now, in 2001, even at that time, the Rawlings regime had opportunity to extend contracts of a few senior public servants who were served from the 70s through the 80s and the early 90s. But government, the new government in 2001 said no. This sort of policy preventing younger people from also ascending to the top. So in fact, they actually use the word proscribed. Look up the meaning of the word proscribed, banned. This one says suspension. This directive says we are suspending.
So the Public Service Commission 2001, that one says proscribed.
Proscribed. Yes. So I don't even know how it was brought back, that practice. And let me tell you this, there are very specific statutes in place. Laws like Act 455, Act 959, which is the OSP Act. If you look at Act 612, 2002, the Bank of Ghana Act. If you look at the Labor Act, which is just a while ago referenced. If you look at the National Pensions Authority Act, Act 769, 2008. If you go back, 1994, the National Development Planning Commission Act, Act 479. Then we have the We Power Act. If you look at that law, it specifies certain category of public servants who could stay on. But your conditions of service will be determined by the board. Parliament was very specific.
I see.
If you look at the Community Water and Sanitation Act, that's Act 564, 1998, all these were enshrined in the law. IOCO Act, GS Establishment Act, the Hospital Administration Act were very specific. Now, how come when you attain 60, you had to apply to be given a contract? So it's not absolute. So it's a policy of government to renew, to grant you that contract or not.
Yes.
So when people argue that when you are 60, it should be permitted to stay on, and that if you are opinion, it's neither here nor there.
That's what you heard. That
Yes. But let me say, it was my senior at the faculty, and meanwhile, welcome.
In fact, let me take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Andy Apiakobi. He is a private legal practitioner, former member of parliament for the Asante Achim North constituency. Andy Apiakobi, good morning. Welcome. Good morning, my brother. It's good to have you.
So we were taught by persons.
Also, we have Thomas Musa Tanko joining us. He is the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, also a member of the TUC. Let's hear the TUC's extensive position on this matter. Mr. Thomas Tanko, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, my brother Alfred, and also good morning to the honorable members of Parliament and all the distinguished guests on the show.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much. Please.
Now, the Supreme Court, like I said, throughout the Yevu Ibo cases, the Apia Ofori cases, through the Donkon Nakite cases, as well as recently as 2020, when the Attorney General, Dr. Aini went to court, if you recall, in respect of the appointment of Honorable Martin Amidu as a special prosecutor. He challenged the appointment on some stated grounds. But the court disagreed with him and restated the position eruditely stated in those chain of cases. What did the court say? The court said, for some public institutions, based on the exigencies, there are certain category of public servants who can be appointed even though they attain 60 years. The court went further to also explain the constitutional provision that mandates public institutions to contract, as it were, retiring heads or retiring public servants with specialized skills. The question the Auditor General has asked in the past, for instance, is that if you have a public institution and somebody rises through the ranks to his pinnacle and attains 60, and you want to give him a contract to stay on for 2 years, for another 2 years, and for 1 year. How does that constitute a specialized skill? Now, when the person is not an engineer, when the person is not a medical officer, when the person is not, say, a trained legal mind, like up to a professorial level, who may be retained for some work to be impacted. Because you see, as part of your duties of office as a senior public servant, is also to train your subordinates. So that upon attaining 60 years, they can easily take over from you in a handing over notes. But if you want to convert a practice which somehow has found its way into the Constitution in 1996 and crystallize it, then we stand the danger of the younger ones not ever getting the opportunity to climb to the pinnacle until after they attain 60. But they should have the opportunity even when you attain 40 to be able to rise. So it's a policy that I support.
Right.
It's a policy that is in tandem with the modern governance architecture. The persons can always be useful
like I was making the point before, he was my senior at the faculty. We were taught by professors who were beyond 60. But they also train. That is why in the university system, they have the TA system. That's part of the beginning.
Yes.
You train younger ones, the TA becomes a young lecturer, it becomes a senior lecturer, it becomes an associate professor, it becomes a professor, it becomes a emeritus professor. You must go through the ranks.
I see.
You understand?
Great.
So we must allow, as we expand, we must also create opportunity at the top.
Great. Okay, so let me bring in TUC to better understand their position on this matter, because I played Joshua Ansah's video. Essentially, he's saying why they are not too happy about this directive that if you be a penny, there has to be an elderly person in every house. Martin Kpebu is private legal practitioner. He's joining us on Zoom. So as I indicated, he is not with us in the studio. Counsel, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, good morning. Morning, Mr. Ocansey. Good
to have you.
And it's good to be here. So I hope I can do my brief greetings.
Briefly.
As usual, but before we go to the usuals, I should say we thank God for the life of our IG, Younu. Did you see how somebody shot at his vehicle when he went to Boko? Later, I heard their denials that it wasn't a gunshot, but it was a stone.
In fact, it's an issue we intend to deal with later, together with the tariff increases as well. So, yeah, we'll touch on it.
Yes. So we thank God. Then we'll call on our brothers and sisters in Boko that they should do well to let peace reign. We all, are one people. We understand the tensions, etc. And we pray that somehow they would find some space to be able to accommodate each other so that the killings and the mayhem can stop. Yes, so that the killings and the mayhem can stop. Because if we don't have people, then we don't have a country. Good. And as usual, great government, Kentucky Tech through the second, the man leading for justice was the Sisliadapa case, Chief Justice Sofa Ekufu, who says the new constitution should be such that the president will not appoint Supreme Court justices, chief justices, etc. And Domahine Osiadeyo Ajmanbedu II, a man who spoke up when most chiefs were quiet. Of course, let's add Togbe Afede. Yes, my attention has been drawn to the fact that, yes, Togbe Afede also spoke out on a good number of occasions. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us as well. Now, this is exactly what the Secretary General of the TUC said on this matter. And then I'll bring in Thomas Musa Tanko, because National Association of Teachers is also a key member of the Trade Union Congress. This is Joshua Ansah.
Employment situation in this country is very dire. And maybe the youth are yearning for a job. And they think that if you have reached your retirement age, why do you still be in office? But like I said, yes, if you be a penny room, if you're a penny name, then if you paper. I think that it should have been a process. There should have been a transition period or consultation or discussion before maybe that decision would have been made. But once that's been made, let's see how it goes. For me,
Mr. Tanko, so what exactly is your concern about this directive to immediately suspend the extension of these contracts, as has been, that's post-retirement contract, as has been communicated by the presidency earlier this week?
So thank you very much. Once again, good morning to yourself and to all our viewers and to the honorable panel members. Before I start, I am from the Upper East region, and I want to associate myself to the issues raised by the learned man, lawyer, people, at least to appeal to our people in Boko, that without peace, there cannot be any development. At least for the sake of our children, majority of the people now will soon all be called to eternity. So what will happen to the children who are 5, 6, 7, 8 years old? For the sake of the children, at least at any point in time, the lawyers will tell litigation must rest. So I believe that whatever we can do to bring a lasting peace to Boko, we must get it done. Let me also use this opportunity. That's the individuals who always use other means to go and be inciting violence there. Please, for God's sake, you gain nothing out of this. You gain nothing. And let us all remember, whatever a man sows, he will certainly reap. There is a God that is watching over all of us. Even if man doesn't see you, God will punish all those people one day together with their families. They will never go unpunished. Those behind inciting violence in that particular place, they will not go unpunished. God will take care of them. And therefore, let us all be mindful of our action, that it is a collective whole. Whatever happens there affects all of us.
Indeed.
Thank you very much. Now, my brother Alfred, to the substantive issue, that is about the retirement age or the retirement issue, as His Excellency, our President John Dramani Mahama indicated, that a 60-year thing. First and foremost, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, in fact, we are part of forum. So we have 3 trade union centers. NAT is not part of TUC, but we are all members of what we call the organized labor. I need to make that particular correction.
Right.
So having said that, the point being made here is this. Please, we are not against the retirement age of 60. That must be placed on record. We are not against the retirement age of 60. Look, recently, Senate started raising issues that if we will agree for the age to be extended to 65, we said no. We said no, that whatever that can be done to ensure that a Ghanaian worker should retire at age 60 in a 2-bedroom house, it must be done. The reason being that, what is the life expectancy rate now? How many of us will live up to 70 years? So by extending it to age 65, are you saying that we should all work and die on the work? No. At any point in time, you must retire, go home, sit back, reflect, and begin to share all the knowledge and all the experiences you have acquired in the past. So nobody is against the retirement age at 60, and we must all agree on that particular one. So what His Excellency the President of Ghana said, that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama said, nobody is against it. We are all in support of it in principle. But we are saying that there are other things that we all need to look at, and we all need to engage in a dialogue to see how best we can get this thing implemented. Look, number one, if you look, I'm happy the Constitution is being mentioned here. If you look at our Constitution carefully, particularly Article 190, I don't want to go because they're all the members there, they are all lawyers. All the workers, all the public services people and the civil service there, they are all appointed by the President under Article 195. All of them. The power to appoint is vested in the President. And so to the extent that is vested in the President, that brings me the second leg, or the point number 2. Today we run what we call the political shift system. When the NPP comes to power, they sack all the people perceived to be NDC people. And when the NDC people do come to power, all the people that are perceived to be NPP people, they are all also asked to go home. That is the kind of system we are running. And so you realize that the moment government changes, to the extent that it was the government that brought you, even in the public service, there are areas where people begin to get scared. Even if you cannot be, if you cannot be removed from that place, we have what we call the constructive dismissal. Constructive dismissal simply means that if I cannot sack you from where you are, I will put you at a place where you'll be rendered useless. And pardon me my words. So that is the kind of corporate governance we have been running. We are running a shift system where you cannot be removed. They deploy what we call the constructive dismissal, and you are rendered impotent. You are out of sight. Your talent and everything will come to an end. And so that is the second one. The third thing, the reason why we are saying that, look, let us reflect, is that We believe that to solve this particular problem, it is about the issue of corporate governance. Let us all agree as a nation to have a strategic plan for both the public sector and the civil service. When you have a strategic plan, the strategic plan will determine the succession plan or the succession planning and all the things that must be done. And this particular work has been assigned to the Public Services Commission and also the Civil Service to get this particular thing done. But we all know that we don't have that plan there. We don't have anything called succession planning. And when you go to all the services and both the public and the civil services, the politicians determine all those things. Whether to stay or to go, it is the politician that determines it. It is not according to any plan. We don't have any plan that we are running. And this is what we are saying that, look, how can you run an organization without a strategic plan? Taking into consideration the three main factors of production. The strategic plan will determine how you want to deploy your factors of production. Talking about the human capital, talking about the capital itself, and also talking about land and other related resources that will help you develop this particular country. The strategic plan will tell you all those things. We don't have it. And even if we have it, we are not going by it. Look, Alfred, go to the public, go to the National Development Planning Commission. Mm-hmm. When the NDC was in power, they developed what we call, I remember we were talking about the 40-year strategic plan also. What happens to it? Recently, when the MPP also came into power, we had what we call the 100 years strategic plan. What has happened to it? Recently, another 40 years have been developed. We keep on developing.
Then there was the 40-year development plan that was developed by Dr. Nimoy Thompson before the NDC exited.
Yes, we had the 40 years, we had the 100 years, we had another 40 years. We keep on developing these things, but we don't go according to them. We don't. So I have all these documents. I'm coming.
Yes.
Pardon, because it is important. I am happy because the policy makers are seated there with you. Mm-hmm. And I am happy that the Honorable Defi Amako is there. And this is the time that we need to explain this thing, that they have an opportunity of making policies, for them to appreciate these things, that Ghana will be there forever. They will go and come. And that it is in the interest of Ghana for us to get this particular thing done. This brings me to the fourth item. Alfred, if somebody gets to the age 60, there are two things involved. If the person goes on retirement, what is happening in the current in our corporate governance is that if we see that that person is so good and he has all the knowledge and we cannot keep him, what we do is that we engage the person as a consultant. We have them in the public service and the civil service. Yes. We engage them as consultant. So we need to choose. Either that I give the person 2 years to continue, or I engage the person as a consultant. So the two things involved. The reason why it is important is that we are dealing here with organizational memory. And because we do not take time to transfer this organizational memory, we have a problem. The lawyers there will tell us, when you go to court today, they have what we call judicial precedent. The precedents. Before the lawyer comes to sit, the lawyer will look at what has happened in the past. Go to the public service. Go to the judicial service. Ask them the things that have happened in the past. The files even cannot be traced. The documents have all gone missing and all that. Is that how we run a system? No. We were in this country when the former president of the US came to tell us that we need strong institutions and not strong men, even though some of us have some concerns with that particular, how they call it, a system of development, because some of us believe that you need both. But in terms of institutions, our institutions are weak because of all. And so
I see
the position that that organized labor is indicating is that in as much as we are not against the age 60, we believe that the kind of systems or the kind of processes that must be put in place to ensure that Ghana develops the best of its how do you call it, capabilities, we have not put it there. And that is the challenge confronting us. And I've already cited an example. The judicial service or the legal system is very strong because they have a very strong judicial precedent system that they can easily refer to. And when the learned man, Lawyer Kebu, was speaking, he was quoting, making references and all that. The judicial in both the public and the civil service, when they are talking, there is no history there. The person there doesn't know it.
Good. I wanted to. So what's the in just 1 minute? What exactly is the concern with this directive from the presidency?
So the concern here is that we all need to agree as to how we want the public service and the civil service to run. That is all.
Okay.
There must be a succession planning, and that succession planning must be something that both parties must agree.
But the succession plan is there. The succession plan is there, and you're supposed to. I'm coming. You're supposed to ensure. I'm coming. You are supposed to ensure training. That succession plan is there. So what kind of succession plan? What succession plan again do you need? Reason why you are against this directive?
Uncle Alfred, ask the policy makers in the studio whether we obey it. I have told you that the 100-year plan, we've set it aside. There is another 40-year plan that was done. It was launched recently by the MPP at the University of Ghana. That also will be put aside. So the question is, what plan are we running such that both the NDC and the MPP can agree that, look, this is the way we want the public service to run? It's all. Look, let us not do something today, then in 4 years' time, when the MPP, or in 8 years or whatever year time, when another government comes in, the government will come and say, I want to push all these things aside. When we all know that under directive principles of state policy, we are obligated to continue the work that our predecessors have started. But we don't do it. We don't do it. So it's a concern there. We are not saying that nobody should retire at age 60. Let's have a discussion on this particular matter. Let us all agree that henceforth, please, this is the way we want the public service to go. This is the way and there should be continuity. There should be continuity, and we all will be fine. And Ghana will be the beneficiary of all this architecture. That's all we are saying.
I see. Well, I just wanted to, because you agree that yes, the succession plan is there, but they're not being obeyed. I just wanted to find out what other kind of succession you're talking about, and then also to the extent that you agree that the law says 60 years. It is only the contract extension is not necessarily an entitlement. It is just by discretion, is it not? That if you
exactly. Let me give you an example. When I was speaking, I mentioned what we call constructive dismissal. You see, per the public service policy and manual document, it is in terms of seniority. So if the chief director is there, or let's say the topmost officer is there, in his absence, the second highest person will then come in. Now, if the place where you are working, or the place where you are working, they think that they look at your person and they think that you will not help their cause. You know what they will do? They will assign you, they will reassign you somewhere. Even though your work is not needed, they will reassign you. And they will bring in a different person. You see, even though the plan is there, like I've said, the plan is not being followed. And the way it is done in such a way that even if you go to court, you will be told that, look, your services have been deployed at the place where it is needed. So that ends the case. Because the employer has the right to transfer you, has the right to deploy you at where your services are needed. But meanwhile, we all know that this is somebody that we have invested in so much that this person, keeping him here, will be in the best interest of the country. But to a large extent, when somebody comes, the person will say, look, yes, even though this person is highly trained and not, I don't want him here, he must leave. Look, where I sit, I have seen plenty. I have seen people removed every day, in and out, move him here, move this person here, I don't care, move this person here. So the issue of the planning is not being followed.
I see.
We can all discuss it here. It's not being followed.
Actually,
it's not being followed.
well,
That's why we are saying that we all need to agree. We all need to agree that, look, this is the document that we all want to abide by it. Well,
okay.
no matter how difficult it is, we all need to work at it and get it done.
So you wanted some further engagement with government
exactly.
before this directive came to force.
Yes, Alfred, let me conclude. Let me conclude on this one. Let me conclude. Let me conclude. Look, organized labor will be the last body to pit against the 860. Why? Because as we are speaking, the issue of unemployment is about 14% now. And we know the national security implications of unemployment. We know the national security implications of unemployment. It can create serious consequences for Ghana. So for people to return at 860 is an excellent thing. But not only that, we must ensure that the succession planning that we have in place, such that those at 855, at 850 and all that, can easily move in to take over. When those leaving are leaving, the incoming young ones can easily move in. We, the policy makers, should not create an impediment. They should not create they should not stereotype the people in the system, such that when it is their turn to get there, to kick them out through the constructive dismissal, like I have said, put them in places where their services will not be needed. It is for all of us, and that is all that organized labor is saying. Let's engage, and let us find the best way of handling it, so that nobody will play it as a political football.
I see. So, Mr. Nako, stay with me, and you know what could be. This is where I'm bringing it. On the concern that they have raised is about this lack of succession, and so there has to be engagement before this directive is implemented. That's the fundamental concern. Any merit in this?
Indeed, I don't see the need for any controversy at all. The construction of the law, the wording, and the various provisions supporting, they are okay. I'm not sure that we have to debate this about. The law says that when you are 60, you reach your retirement age, and in only a situation where there is a need that cannot be filled by anybody, that provision should be made for an extension of the time of the person who is due for retirement. The law has taken care of the person who is going and the possibility of an extension in the event that there is a need. It is not automatic that once you reach 60, you should be given a 221. No, it is not automatic. And the law has taken care of it. Our problem in the country is politics. The implementation of the laws bring the political sentiments that dilute the essence of the laws. I think that Ghanaians, we must be careful so not to be too overly political, that everything will be subject to politics. No, the law is okay as it is. We have spent the whole day discussing what ought to be or what ought not to be. But the law has given us the roadmap. You get to 60, you retire. Except, and the exception to the rule is what we want to normalize as the rule. And that is incorrect. So if we follow through what the prescription of the law, we won't get to a place where we are debating on every single thing in the law, hoping to change the structure of the law at any given instance. It is incorrect. So for me, let us try to limit our politicization of the governance system so that the rules and the laws will have effect without the injection of the unnecessary politics. I heard one of the speakers say that the Chief Justice even made a suggestion. I totally agree with the position Chief Justice takes. Let's strengthen our institutions so that politics will not take precedence over institutional directions. Again, if we continue to do that, and my good friend was saying, every change of government will also bring about change of personnel in positions of governance, even in civil service. how can we continue to grow a country like this?
But that's the reality, isn't it?
Yes, but
we've seen it happen.
If it's a reality, it is a wrong reality. We must change the dynamics. We must change it so that at least public servants will be public servants. And for me, we need to grow a bigger class of statesmen than growing bigger classes of partisan politicians. It is not healthy. It won't lead us anywhere. Even in matters of security, we are still pushing politics into it. When people are dying, we are talking politics. When people are killing each other, we are saying it is Mr. A who is this, Mr. B who is that. We forget that we are losing human life to all of us as A or B or C or D. So for me, we need to grow the spirit of statesmanship more than partisanship. You don't see what is wrong as wrong because it is somebody in your party doing it. Mm-hmm. You don't see what is right as right because it is not somebody in your party doing it. And how can Ghana progress like this? Massa, I think that it's important that we have a reorientation of ourselves as Ghanaians. Indeed, if I want to live now, I want to go to Baku and live, I should have the freedom to go there and buy land, build my house, and live there peacefully. And for all you know, some of us are inclined to be located in different places because of what we think we need as human beings and as persons.
Indeed.
Personally, you come and talk to me, the food I like best comes from Volta region. So if I'm inclined to go and locate there...
what food is that?
My friend, you don't know. I have been eating with you. You should be telling me. So it is probably because of that attraction that I decide, let me build a holiday home in Volta region. And you come and tell me as a Ghanaian that I don't have a right to live there. You understand? I should enjoy what is Ghanaian everywhere in Ghana. And if there is conflict in one part of Ghana, and you sit at the other part, and you think that you should fund it because it serves your political interest, do you know how and when that will escalate into where you are? I think Ghana as a whole is a corporate soul. Mm-hmm. And all of us living in must see us as Ghanaians without more.
Indeed.
So please, I don't support any politicization of national issues.
But you see, here's where the concern is. I mean, beyond the politics, because you touched on he described it as constructive dismissals, where people are transferred and made useless because you can't be
What is the essence of that?
But then he says they are not against, Thomas Mutago says they are not against essentially people retiring at the age of 60. But there has to be, in the implementation of this directive from the presidency, there has to be consultation and some engagement.
In fact, we didn't need to even wait for president to come out with this. It is done in the law. The law says that when you are 60, retire. Except when there is a definite need that will extend your stay. And when the law has said that, what the president has said is just the amplification of what the law says. It is nothing new. It is not different from... But we have, in practice, normalized the exception. That is why there has been a need for a redirection. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the law has said it. So why the hula baloo about this? And I'm saying that it is the implementation of the direction of the law that brings in the pollution. So we must do it right. I don't think that, personally, I have a problem working with my friend Roxon, because we are from two different parties. Why? Why should I have a problem? If there is a competence that he has that I need to exploit, why not? And ask him. Many occasions I have invited him to cases that I'm doing so that we will exploit the legal knowledge that we have as two councils and prosecute the matter for our collective benefit. Ghanaians, we must move down on politics. Politics is not helping us. Indeed, we have opportunity now because there's a constitutional review committee. Process, yeah. Let us address those areas of concern rather than these trivial issues. And for me personally, The Constitution, I say every time that it is sick, the consolidation of power in one person's hand is dangerous. You understand? I have ever said this. Constitutionalism, as we learned it in the law school, says that distribute power effectively. But our constitution is in the opposite, trying to consolidate power in one person's hand. So if that one person, for any good day or any bad day, have challenges, have challenges, then we are going to suffer from such challenges. My brother, I think executive presidency generally is not African. I think that we have to look at it so that how to control people in authority and the use of power for the benefit of all of us. Otherwise, when I struggle and become the executive something, then I use it to satisfy my interests and whims and the interests of people around me. We are building a country. We are not building sectional institutions or sectional chiefdoms and kingdoms. We are building a country, and that must be, our ultimate goal, our orientation, all of us.
In fact, and Mr. Game, so there's a specific response you wanted to give to the organized labor position.
Just one minute. What I'm saying is that let's follow the law. It is enough without trying to even affect it. It has given us a signpost. You reach 60, you retire. In the event that you get to 45 and you think that you cannot go on, the law has given you the leeway to opt out. And if there is a need for you to continue even after 60, let's see the justification. And then let it be procedural, not at the whims of anybody. My brother, the law is adequate.
The law is adequate to deal with this matter, even without the presidential directive. But organized labor has concerns, as you have heard. The view is that at least consult.
Well, I appreciate that. And my brother and friend, Musa Tanko, the General Secretary of NAT, I represented NAT on the Pension Commission during President Kufuor's time. And we took into consideration the provisions of the Labour Act into developing that aspect around some of the things I'm going to remind him about. I am pretty sure that from what I know, that people are fixated about only wages, salaries, and allowances. And they have left to the detriment of other things, like the succession planning thing he talked about. Now, let me tell you this. Now, the question of 60 years, as we've all agreed, including what my brother Musa said and the TUC said, it is a constitutional imperative. There's nothing anybody can do about it. So it's not about you saying it or not saying it. It's firmed up. But employers have been given the right, and the president is an employer as well. Please take notice of that. Employers under the Labour Act, under Section 8, have been given the right to formulate policies. And so he's talking about policies. The policies are to be formulated by the employer. That's number one. Two, when it comes, and it must be consistent, not just with the Constitution, with we as a people itself, we must reason and realize that we cannot just do anything just anyhow we like. Two, therefore, it becomes the duty of the employer, and that brings it to the 60 years connection. It is the duty of the employer to ensure that for succession planning to become real, under the Labour Act Section 9, subsection D, the employer is to train, to retrain, to develop the human skill for purposes of takeover. Then it is also the right of the worker under Section 10 of the Labour Act that they should be trained, retrained, and their skills developed. Now it is for the unions at the negotiation table to negotiate on the subject matter, training and development of skill, to now have the details which must be consistent with both the parent law and the constitution. We have left it to chance. And now an employer gets up, like he rightly said, they either sacking people, transfer. Transfer is clearly written in the law as to how it should be detailed, is subject to negotiation. If you go to section 98, it talks about transfer, promotion, this and that, all that are subject to negotiation in an interest-based approach. We no longer have the traditional adversarial approach under our labor law. We are just misbehaving too much. And I want to say that I think that whereas organized labor and my friends in the fraternity, what they are saying is true, the fear is not there because provisions have been made in the law already. And it's in the constitution as well. It's just that we are not negotiating maybe as effective as it should be.
It is implementation.
And it's up to all of us to work together towards that. I will come and see him in the office.
I see. Well,
you welcome me.
Indeed. But yes, people. So clearly, what the position of the law is uncontested. And indeed, you heard one of the appeal group make the point that there need not be even a directive from the presidency because the law is quite clear on what has to be done if you turn 60. The contention of organized labor, as you heard Mr. Tanko make the point clearly, is that one side of it is the politics of things, and then also the issue about no succession plan and lack of consultation, so that if they have to implement this directive as has been put out by the presidency now, it's going to create challenges for them. Is there any merit in this?
So naturally, Mr. Tanko's point that there will be challenges, okay, it's a point we can't run away from. But challenges will have to be managed because on the balance, I took in favor of the president's policy. After all, it's even the law anyway. It's the law, so we don't need an extra policy. Okay, so this is a case in which all the various sides, the protagonists and the antagonists, they all have a point, all right? But overall, considering the teeming millions of our youth who are unemployed, graduate unemployment, we all know is such a huge problem, over 14.7%, right? It's more than now. I think that the president is largely right that they should implement the policy strictly because we need these younger ones to also come into the working force. And that's why the Constitution itself says, unless those skills for which you need an extension are rare, so that is say, unless the person is said that he's one of a kind, he's the only one who has that skill. Otherwise, for the ordinary things that everybody does, let's say for a civil servant, he's worked there 35 years, it's time to go. He has to go. Somebody, those who have worked 30 years will step in. So especially in the civil service, and then, the civil service, other parts of the public services, the public service is the overall, is the universal set. The civil service is one subset. Then you see the police service, this immigration, all the other ones, they are all subsets of the public services. So what I'm saying is that in a lot of those places, the people who ask for this extension don't have any extra skills. Look, let me show you this in some. Currently, immigration service, there are some who are due to go. We are not seeing efforts that they will go. Ghana Immigration Service, so you would hear lobbying that people want extensions. Ghana Immigration Service. I'm like, but the persons who want extension, director, the one in charge of operations, I ask myself that, this extension he wants, is he saying he's the only one who can do that job? People who should go, they are hanging on. Are they the only people? There are many other people who can perform those jobs. So immigration service is just one example. There are other places where people who are to go on retirement will not go. They are hanging on, seeking to lobby to get more time. And I find that very strange. So it's good that President Mahama is saying they will implement it to the letter. But I hope we've also seen the clarification by Haruna Idrisu, Minister for Education. He says it doesn't affect the lecturers in the university. Mr. Ocansey, have you seen it?
I indicated it earlier. That
very good. So that is it. So let's implement the law. Bottom line is that too many of our graduates, etc., are home unemployed. If we don't implement the law well, these our fellow citizens will not have the opportunity to also come and work and contribute their quota. Those who want to hang on, they've built up their skills so well, they should go and set up in the private sector. You set up a consultancy so that if government finds out that they cannot do that job, the current crop cannot do it, they will come. Then we'll deal with that. But you just find people trying to hang on when their skills are not rare, when there are other persons they've been working with in the same institutions, when those other persons can easily step into their shoes, and yet because of party affiliations, etc., strong connections, you find these persons who have to go on retirement hanging on. And Mr. Ocansey, I don't know if you refer to this one too as well. 23rd August 2022, I see a story on City FM online where President Kufuor reiterated that they've suspended post-retirement contracts. So they said that, look, as part of the budget, the fiscal policy for the year, they are reiterating that they are suspending post-retirement contracts. So the point is that in that year, I didn't see so much of a pushback when Kufuor said this. I mean, my co-panelists can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I didn't see so much of a pushback at the time.
So we had gone to the IMF, and all these measures were in place. So yes, you're right on that.
Yeah, you say. So please, let's use the law the way it should be so that we'll give others an opportunity.
Okay.
Give others an opportunity. I think that's the point that I want to make.
I see. So, really, Mr. Tanko, and I'm going to conclude on this because, yes, clearly the law in its spirit and letter is quite clear on what the position is. We've seen over time that this post-retirement contract, even though the law says it has to be in very exceptional situations where the exigencies of the time demand that post-retirement contracts be awarded, it's rather become sort of a norm where really people with no rare skills have their retirement contracts extended. So what has to be done going forward? And why exactly do you think holding on to your position is a valid one to do?
All saying the same thing. But you realize that the lawyers are stressing, with all due respect to them, they are stressing more on the aspect of the law. We don't have anything against the law. We are talking about the practice. We have the law and the practice. We are saying that the law as it is in the Constitution and as it is in the Labor Act, it is not being practiced. That is what we are saying. The laws do not implement themselves. Human beings, institutions must implement them. And so we are saying that the practice as it is now, it is not in tandem with the law. That is what we are saying. Okay. And so law and practice always go together. In fact, anytime the work we do, I started this work over 30 years now. Normally, in fact, one of the men we came to meet in our industry is called Openyi Obi. He wrote the book, and he has about 3 series or so. He has what he called the law and the practice. When you take your time and study that, but the books that he has written, you realize that at any point in time in an industrial relation, totally industrial relations, all over the place, we have the law and we have the practice.
Okay.
And even the lawyers will even agree that conventions and all that. So we are saying that the law is good. Organized labor has nothing against the law. And I repeat, we don't have anything against the law. But we are saying that in as much as we have the law, the politicians and the policymakers are doing a different thing altogether.
Okay.
So we are saying. We are saying that we must ensure that the law works. That is all. Thank you.
Well, but do you have it in your collective agreement?
My brother, let me give you an example in the Ghana Education Service. Recently, you remember that we went on strike for over 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
Yes.
Good. Since 1970s, that the Ghana the education service was established. We have been appointing director general, deputies, and all that.
Okay.
And in our condition of service, we have scheme of service in it. Recently, when the former DG was appointed, that is in the person of Dr. Alfred Ocansey, we had serious confrontation with the status quo. The matter ended up at the Labour Commission. The Labour Commission finally told us that we don't have scheme of service. Look, on our scheme of service, we are supposed to end on Director 1. But currently, in fact, you could see that there have been a series of letters. One of them that we have even written to the minister. Then we have given one to the Public Services Commission. That if our needs are not addressed, whatever happens in the month of May, the duty bearers must have themselves to blame. We have been told that currently, as it is now, that you can only be promoted to Director 2 or Director 1 when a political district is created. Meanwhile, in our scheme of service, those promotions must be done. It is what we talk about the succession planning. And we have been fighting this for over 10 good years now. Okay? The last stop now is that a teacher can go to Director 2, Deputy Director. And when you are on the rank of Deputy Director, and no political district is created,
okay,
and it comes to the point where they need somebody to become a Deputy Director General, a Director General, you cannot be appointed.
Okay. Well, so
these are the bottlenecks. These are the things we are talking about, real issues on the ground.
Okay.
Where the politicians or the duty bearers will create bottlenecks and all that. When the unions will start acting, people will tell us, for the sake of the children and all that. And we are happy that the discussion is coming up at this particular time. So that in the month of May, whatever happens on the industrial front, teacher unions and not for that matter cannot be blamed. I rest my case. Thank you.
You are foretelling what would happen in the month of May. See, so he talks about the realities, which is in sharp contrast with what the position of the law is. So you have to take that into consideration essentially in the conversation.
Maybe, I agree with him that the law is always the law in practice. The law will define the letter and the spirit. But practice is what is concerned about. And I agree. The Auditor General's findings is not about the law. It's about the practice. It's the abuse. Nobody says that when you attain 60 and you have a degree in chemical engineering, you've gone to do other postgraduate studies, you've headed an institution, and others are being trained, your subordinates are being trained. It's prudent that we operate within the law that gives you some limited presence to continue. So 221, I agree. But the abuse is that somebody who has 1060 and has political connections gets retained and takes the 221 opportunity. But you see, people, birthday is birthday. People attain 1060 every day. So you can have an institution where in every month there's a senior man who is attaining 60 and is due for retirement. But he doesn't get the opportunity to have a contract.
Right.
That is where the concern is. So if I'm a deputy to a head of an organization, he attains 60, let's say last year, and I'm due to attain 60 next year, and he decides that, you see, the opportunity is elastic. It's supposed to be 221 if you have to be granted. The person knows that his deputy, who is me, is also attaining 60, and yeah, he won't go for me to also get the opportunity to also have the extended contract terms of 2 years. He won't. He wants to go the full haul. So you take the 2
apply for another renewal, and apply for the last one, which is 5. Now, I would have been compelled to go on retirement upon attaining 60 without the opportunity of having the 221 stay on. This is the abuse that everybody is pointing at.
The law did not envisage a situation of people queuing up to go on retirement.
Exactly.
The law expects that when there is a vacancy that cannot be filled.
Yes, but that's the point I'm making.
Situation of exigency.
That is the point I'm making. I'm saying an abuse. That is why it is abused. So where Amwansechi and Co. use the phrase the exigencies of the office is being abused in practice. That is the concern of the TUC man. You understand? So I agree that this policy, for me, the Auditor General even frowns on it.
Right.
Because it's been abused. Because now you don't have public servants who are public servants. You have public servants who also want to be politicians. If you are a public servant, remain a public servant. But they also want to be politicians.
Indeed.
So they conduct themselves in a very partisan manner. And in doing so, they get opportunity to do this 221 post-retirement contract.
Okay.
Then the public servant who hasn't conducted himself in a partisan way gets denied. These are the forms of abuse that everybody frowns on. So for me, the decision in Yevu-Ibo as enunciated by Amwansechi, and the recent one that's Justice Amegache, I believe, he delivered. Yes, Amegache delivered in Dr. Aini versus Attorney General one, should be a guide.
Right.
Should be a major guide to all of us.
Thank you very much. Now, Sir Ross on this. A number of your messages, and then we'll go straight to Boko. And Colonel Festus Abaji is going to be joining us in a bit. Says, good morning, Alfred. On the suspension of post-retirement contracts, isn't it baffling that older people expect the youth with little or no skills to be entrepreneurial in setting up businesses, but the elderly with experience want to hang on to their jobs? If after decades of being in public office, they haven't implemented any succession plan, will they be able to do that in contract period? As Honorable Austin Game articulated, why shouldn't the elderly leave those public offices to set up private businesses to employ more youth, as he has done as well? It says, congratulations to him. This is to you, Mr. Game. It's from Ken Officer Abaji is going to be joining us. This one here from Setabloso, who is also a labor analyst, joined with this message. It says, good morning. Is the directive at all necessary? I beg to differ, because while Article 199 of the Operative Constitution provides for retirement in the public service at 60 years, the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, amended Act 1996 at 527, provides that Article 199 of the Constitution is amended by the insertion of Clause 3. Notwithstanding Clause 1 of this article, a public officer who has retired from public service after attaining the age of 60 years may, where the exigencies of the service require, be engaged for a limited period of not more than 2 years at a time, but not exceeding 5 years. So that's what has been extensively explained and referenced here as well. Thank you very much. This one here says, good morning, Alfred. It says, disagree with Thomas Musa Tanko. Please ask him if he is aware that some newly appointed or reposted education directors and head teachers sometimes decide to transfer experienced staff and replace them with their favorites because they feel the old staff may not be the sycophants they may want them to be. It's all over, especially in home municipal. He should help correct and put his house in order, and before, it says, criticizing constructive transfers in government. Benghazi says also the fact that the judicial system refers to judicial precedents does not mean that when lawyers and judges reach their retirement age, they should be allowed to continue occupying their positions, you say. Good morning, Alfred. Just keep up the good work there for Ghana. Okay, thank you. I totally agree with Honorable Apiakobi. We should stop over-politicization of every government directive. It won't help the country. Let's follow the law to build our nation. This is Ebenezer Habo. president of PTTAM Africa. Thank you. This one here says, people apply to continue with justification instead of the state identifying the need for them because of the desire and plan to continue in perpetuity, you say. Thank you very much for the messages. And that concern that Lawyer Martin Pebu touched on early on before he started his submission, and that is the situation in Boko. One person this week was reported killed in the town of Boko in the Upper East region, while the private residence of the Boko Divisional Police Commander, and we're going to put that video on the screen right now. And they burned the residence
of my leader too.
Yes, the Boko Divisional Police Commander, AC Adamu Seidu, was set on fire in the renewed clashes on Wednesday. We understand also that they attempted touching the residence of the majority leader and Boko Central MP, that's Mama Yarga, and then the MP for Pusiga as well. We understand her private residence was partially bent as well, and that's how troubling the situation is. And we have pictures of Haji Aladi, the MP for Pusiga's residence that was partially bent. We've got some exclusive videos and pictures to that effect we'll show to you, but we'll show you the videos of the situation in Boko right now, and what should be the best way possible to deal with it. So for the leadership of Parliament, what is in thinking? The President says this 247 to the second, the mediation would resume next week. But what should be the areas of concern specifically in dealing with this going forward very quickly?
Yeah, especially because I'm highly conflicted because my boss, the majority leader and leader of government business, is a direct victim. He's also the MP for the area. So he appears to have been going through these traumatic experiences for the past 20 years in Parliament since 2005. So it's been a very difficult situation, but he's done his very best throughout. Now his home is been damaged, and so also is his neighbor, Haji Aladi Ayamba. That's the honorable member for Pusiga. Home too was vandalized and burnt. My prayer to the young people of Boku is that even in law, there's a time comes when litigation ends. And so in life, a time comes when conflicts must end. Disagreements must have an end. Even the greatest war in human history, the Trojan War, it ended. After 10 years, it ended. So disagreements must, yes, we must as human beings, we have disagreements, but it gets to a point where it ends because naturally the protagonists, they grow older, the vim dies and waits off. We, the younger generation, we should aspire to peaceful coexistence and also for progress. When there is conflict, when there is insecurity, roads cannot be fixed because the engineers who come and fix the roads, who will come and work on your roads with the assistance of young men from the area who work. The electricity extension to communities cannot be done because the engineers who come and extend the cables, the high tension cables, won't come because there's insecurity.
Yes.
Commercial trading, traders who come and let your local economy boom and be buoyant, won't bring their wares and goods to come and vend. Because in vending, you fear being attacked and perhaps killed. The Okada business won't flourish. The tricycle business won't flourish. Trading won't flourish. The cross-border business that we do in the Pusiga area, in the Garu area, in the Timpani area, generally in the Boku municipality, will boom. teachers won't be transferred, won't agree to receive transfer to the area to teach the younger ones. Nurses won't take transfer to Boku General Hospital. Right. Immigration officers, they come, they are attacked. So they won't take transfer and provide security across our borders. Policemen themselves are heavily also criticized and under some few of reprisal attacks. So you want to post them. So there will be a general decay. And it won't help. Boku is a very beautiful place, if you know Boku and its environs. So we are pleading with them. Yes. That we are pleading with them that the directive by the president to allow the committee that's headed by the Otumfuo Asantehene, they should allow that to work to bring some finality to the matter. Boku now has the opportunity to see some greater progress because your son, Mahama Yariga, is the majority leader and leader of government business. How will he lobby for government business and development for the area if this is a crisis that every time is wrought on himself, on his people, and the neighboring communities? It's a very difficult situation.
But you see, we cannot discount the politics in this whole conflict, isn't it? Yes. Because every time, it's a pendulum that swings on both sides. When the MPP is in power, the Mamprosis feel empowered. When the NDC, you are in power, the Kusasis feel empowered. In fact, they issued a press release giving government an ultimatum to do a number of things as well. So you, the politicians,
if you read the statement put out by my leader, it's a very conciliatory one. Even though he's a victim, he suffered badly, he's still looking forward for the resolution of the matter. And I think that is the path that we must do. I commend him for doing that.
Every day, every time.
And yes, but you see, the greatest mediator of our time is sitting here, and he will tell you that even where there is violence, you still must preach mediation, peaceful mediation, resolution of matters. That is what I can only support today. If you want to go into the analysis, go into the intricacies.
No, but you see, we cannot be behaving like ostriches as well.
I am not saying we should. I am not saying we should, but you see, when you say that in the MPP, the Mamprosis are emboldened. No,
but that's a fact.
Hold on, no, Ocansey. Yes. When you say at the MPP, the Mamprosis are emboldened, under the NDC, the Kusasis are emboldened, you are not calling for unity. You are not calling for abandonment of positions and converging in the center for a peaceful resolution of the matter. So, also in the media, let us learn to let wounds heal, so that we can chart a peaceful and common path to progress.
Okay, in referencing that is to acknowledge the reality, so that when we acknowledge the reality, we know exactly the kind of solution to propose in addressing the reality. So you politicians, stay off your hands, and then let the mediation address it. Yes. That's what the issue is.
You see, let me wind up by saying that, you see, if you make such an analysis, we just finished discussing post-retirement and we say, again, politicians. Yes. Every time you are blaming politicians. Yes, but the politicians, we are integral part of the process. So that's what I'm saying. If you say that the Kusasis are emboldened and the NDC, it's quite unfair.
Why?
Because you are suggesting by some,
you also said that
by some interpretation that what is happening is perhaps caused by the Kusasis because it's at the end.
Wait.
No, I said they are emboldened.
You don't take one side and leave the other.
No, but I made the point that the problems we had at the MPP in Boku was also perhaps championed by the Mamprosis. But I'm saying let's depart from that path and call them into the center.
What I understand him to be saying is that take out political hands. Simple. Indeed, I listened to a statement by the president of Ghana, and I thought that was very irresponsible.
Very irresponsible?
Yes.
Oh, please. President of the Republic of Ghana.
No. I mean, what is wrong with being irresponsible?
What exactly do you mean?
In reference to
which president? Which president?
In response to this Boko.
No, which president?
No, what exactly did he say that?
Which president?
Any time that NPP is in power, the Baku conflict resurrects. Anytime that
which president says
power, we leave power, then it comes back. You understand?
No. Which president? Which president says so?
No. Wait.
No, it's important.
I'm not going to mention it. You know it. It's in the news. You understand? I can even show you the video. I'll show you the video when we leave here. And indeed, all this morning we are saying that politics is not doing anything.
Ocansey, this matter. You must clarify. Okay, you must clarify because you see, you made a similar call, and I was saying, that we should depart from that path.
Yes,
but you cannot say that it was an irresponsible comment.
Yes, I will show it to you.
So which president are you ascribing this?
No, it's on my phone. I will show it to him when we finish.
You have to withdraw that comment that it was an irresponsible.
You are not mentioning the name of this president.
Yes.
Whether it's a former or current.
I say there is this that a president said that is irresponsible.
A president.
And I will prove that.
But Ocansey just resonated that.
Excuse me, you are not moderating.
Wait.
Don't forget. And let me listen to the moderator.
So you are not mentioning the name of the president. You have the video of your on your phone. I haven't seen. Which you will show me later. I haven't seen.
Pretty soon.
But you describe it, that comment in your view as
irresponsible.
As far as I know, because I haven't seen the video you are referencing. So until I see the video, I would not know what you're talking about.
I have already
how does that relate
I have already given out that statement.
Okay, how does that relate to the charting the path of the peace that we're talking about?
Yes, this is where I'm going. And I'm going to condemn anybody, politician from here or from A or from B, who has ever taken advantage of the situation in Baku. All of them. And I don't think that this issue of the Baku crisis should be anything that anybody should profit or attempt to profit from. And I am coming to talk about the present because I have to make a reference to the past. That in the past, the political hands have not helped us. So in the present, we don't expect that to happen. And I don't think that anybody can justifiably say that it is the cause of a particular politician. No.
Okay.
Albeit that people attempt to take advantage of the unfortunate situation, which I am condemning. And I condemn what happened in the past, so also would I want to condemn what is happening, what is likely to happen now. And let me congratulate also Otum for his appointment into this position to help bring about peace in the region that we all want to see. And indeed, in commending Otum for what he did for Dagmon, I want to believe that God will also provide a way for us to see peace in Baku also. It must happen. And if at all politicians who want to help, politicians from both sides must hold hands in solving this problem. It should not be a thing like saying that because I am not in power, let it be. Or because my brother was in power, let the two of them hold hands now. Two parties, all of them. And this, I want to encourage Parliament, that parliamentary leadership, you should also hold hands in support of the committee that has been inaugurated, so that we will see lasting peace in Baku.
Right.
And indeed, what pains me is that if there is a political hand, the politicians are not suffering enough. It is our vulnerable brothers and sisters who are suffering. So let my colleagues, the youth, I was once a youth leader. I visited Baku many times in my capacity as a youth organizer. So the youth in Baku, please find each other and sit down and talk peace.
Right.
And again, engage in what brings people together more than what separates us. Indeed, me, I'm from South. And anytime I pass through Baku, I go to a particular place to enjoy myself. And I have friends from both sides who I visit. So I I intend to even call my friends who are from both sides, both Kusasi and Pussy, to sit down and let them show the way. Go there, organize games, and let them see that they are Ghanaians. What is most important in Ghana is that we are all Ghanaians. That sectional division from this, from that, is only for traditional recognition, nothing more than that. Because beyond that, you are associated with one tradition or the other. We are all pursuing the same objectives for ourselves and for our nation. So let us not push the traditional identities into anything, everything that concerns Ghana, even in business, in school. We have been schoolmates. My friends, Zach, Sule, all of them, they were my roommates. We all associate. We go to their villages. The last 2 weeks, I was in Afianyediba, in Volta region, with a friend of mine who was married. Stayed there for 3 days. Enjoyed everything that was there.
I see.
The coconut and all that. And the other time, next week, I'm going to Kifuhimai to see my friend Papa, who is buried. We are one people as a Guinea, as a country. Right. So let's not, and I say this because I know the political hands in it. Let's take it out.
Okay.
And I'm urging my colleague. Unfortunately, I'm not there. Roxanne, who is the chief whip, call your colleague chief whip. All of them, hold your hands. Show them that indeed, when you come to Parliament, we are friends and we are brothers. Okay. When you come to Parliament, except somebody who tell me anything, we are friends, we are brothers, irrespective of where each other comes from.
In fact, because
so let us show that one to the people in Boko that it is not in anybody's interest. It is destructive, killing our country. So let's come back together, all of us, and work for the peace of the greater good. And in support of Tumfo, who has taken this initiative. And I want to congratulate him. God prayers we should be with him as he pursues this peace initiative.
Right. And because you talk about the Parliament, the video, we're going to show you the videos of the Honourable Member of Parliament for the Posiga constituency, the Honourable Ayambai Ladi's private residence that was partly bent as a result of this, the resurgence of this conflict in the Boko area. Well, that's what you're seeing on the screen right now. It's quite unfortunate. The holes you are seeing there are bullet holes, actually. Bullet holes in the door leading to her living room. And so these are exclusive videos that we got earlier today. So that's it. Certainly not looking good. This is quite apart from the attempted torching of the house of the majority leader.
Not attempted.
In fact, it was partly touched as well.
It was bent down.
and then also that of the Boko Divisional Police Commander, ACP Adamu Seidu. We also have some videos of that we will show. But what should really be the way forward in dealing with this quickly?
Well, to be very honest with you, I'm not a stranger in conflict resolution. I have witnessed, conflicts in Accra here. I'm not, I live in Ghana, but I was born in Gold Coast. So Ghanaians have a way of doing things, and we live with them, and so we bear with them as well. Let me be very honest with you. Boku case should have been resolved long ago. I'm very sad it's still there. I pray and support the effort of the Otufo's committee. We will stand by. Should he need our help in any form or shape, we will be available to assist. But I want to say that we should avoid worrying ourselves even about the political distance. If, as a mediation team, if I were to be in charge of that particular program now, I don't even need the presence of police people. I can guarantee you, because mediators are powerful people, And mediators have the capacity to stop any action if the parties agree that they want a solution. If Boku people says that, the two sides says that they have agreed that they want a mediator to mediate in a matter within matter of days, weeks, maximum months, maybe because of translation, one way or the other, it can be resolved. I've seen it in Teshi. Teshi, the Supreme Court even ruled, and they made it 6 royal houses when originally it should have been 3 royal houses alone. When they appeared before our mediation group, as soon as we looked at the judgment, we saw something was wrong. We invited the people. They themselves, because of the approach we gave to them, they offered and volunteer information. And within days, people who are supposed to be, I don't want to say everything, they resolve. That's why Teshi has peace.
I see.
We help them to resolve many years of their chieftaincy case. We help them to resolve it. It can always be done.
Very intractable.
Yes. So we were engaged by the senior citizens of Teshi to help them resolve it. And we help them to resolve it. I have confidence in the Otumfo committee, but we stand by. Should they need help, we'll be offering it for them.
Certainly. And that's what
to me, it can be resolved. And politicians should be put aside. We don't need to mention them, but if they start, there are rules that govern the procedure of mediation. It's not like going to court where litigation is going to be the order of the day. This is beyond litigation. This is going to be a civilized approach to resolving a matter of this nature. And I have confidence in them. If they need our help, we'll stand by to help.
So, and this has been Colonel Festus Abaji, retired, respected security expert globally, is joining us on Zoom right now, having also been involved in conflict mediation as well. Colonel Festus Abaji, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Hello, Colonel.
Good morning.
Great.
Good morning, and my regards to the co-panelists in the studio.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for making the time to join us. So now this matter keeps coming up every now and then. The Otumfo Mediation Committee is going to be re-engaged, but then there's a matter of mistrust that has been identified and the politics of things as well. What is the most potent response to this latest conflict in Boko?
Okay, thanks a lot. I think the most potent, obviously, is the engagement by Otumfo. That is the most potent approach to resolving the issue. It is not the presence of the soldiers, which basically is to de-escalate the level of tension. And for some reasons, even the presence of the security forces does not appear to have achieved this objective of bringing down the level of the violence. And one reason could be that in our political culture, we don't talk about process, we don't update on progress. So 3 or so months ago, the president clearly signaled that he was going to request Otumfo to engage. Shortly after his inauguration, he went to the conflict area, precisely Boku and Naleregu, which were very good, gestures. But then in between, you don't hear anything about what exactly that the mediation that Honorable Austin Game is talking about is doing or achieving. So for the people who are aggrieved, who are in conflict, it's like there's no progress. And that the only way out is for them to continue to engage, in violence. The other part is the elephant in the room that the Honorable Dafian report says we should not talk about. The politics It is a well-known fact that one ethnic group sees one party as its ally. And that any time that party is in power or out of power or whatever it is, they have specific ways of approaching the conflict. Only yesterday, and I believe my colleagues in the studio saw the press conference by the minority. A minority that had been in power for 8 years, 8 good years, could hardly do anything about the conflict, tells the media, indirectly tells Ghanaians that this government must be up to the task in resolving the conflict. The government would only 90 days to its credit. A government which has established a mediation structure. A government whose president or leader has visited the conflict area that the previous government's leader could not do in 8 years. That is the hypocrisy of the political class, which inflames passions and adds more fuel to the conflict. The best that the political class can do is to keep quiet and allow the authority or the authorities to see how best the mediation can work. These are, just about the context of the issue. But there are others. Look, here's a conflict that has been there for decades. To the best of my knowledge, it is recorded in literature from the 1900s, at least 1930, 1931, 1932. The white man recognized this conflict. It's not a new conflict, right? Mm-hmm. But then, during the last administration, I think in February 2023, there was a classic intelligence failure. At least that's what the government told us, that it didn't know, with all the resources that it had, including the software that we had bought for $6 million or whatever dollars from Israel, it didn't know that a rival chief in the form of Alhaji Seydou Abagri was going to be installed. And in the morning when the installation was going to take place, or the enskinment, that was when some attempt was made to fly a helicopter and then to say that the situation on the ground was not congenial and therefore the helicopter could not land. It's a classic failure of politics, of authority, or whatever it is. So that was the trigger for this escalation that we are seeing. But then fast forward, I think October 2024, what happened? Again, another classic intelligence failure on the part of the state to have allowed the rival chief, Alhaji Seydou Abagri, to be smuggled into Boku. Any attempts to support the mediation effort must address these things that I call the triggers or the proximate factors. There cannot be two chiefs anywhere in our jurisdiction, anywhere in our ethnic environments. There is always one chief. So all attempts must be made, whether through law or through tradition, which I believe is what the Otum Force Committee will be doing, among others, to try and normalize this abnormality and get only one chief to be recognized in Boku.
I see.
Then there is this hue and cry about the IGP's visit. I mean, I don't know. I have not seen the full video. Mm-hmm. What was the purpose of the IGP's visit? Among others, it would be a confidence-building measure for the IGP, head of the police service, to go to the ground, one, boost the morale of the police, mm-hmm. one of whose members had been killed, and assure them that the state or the government was doing everything in its power to ensure that they're able to do their work. That's one. But it was also a signal, like the president's visit, to both sides of the conflict, that the state was still engaged. Now, what I'm not very happy about is this carrot that he dangled before the youth, that if you lay down your arms, if that was how he stated it, mm-hmm. I will make sure that some of you are recruited into the police. I think he spoke ahead of time. Even if recruitment is going to be one of the incentives for the guns to go silent, I don't think that was the time that he should have said it. Look, in that environment, the first casualty of the conflict is peace. And then in its wake will be the socio-economic, challenges, the livelihoods that have disappeared, even the government employees, government structures and so on, schools, clinics, whatever, all of whom have left. So the first concrete attempt to ensure the youth about the benefits or the dividends of peace will revolve around measures of reactivating the economic livelihoods of the people. And in post-conflict environments, when you do that also with a mechanism to reintegrate or integrate the society.
Right.
So if it is farming, you take Mamprusi youth, you take Kusasi youth, you give them land, you give them seeds, you give them tools, put them together on a piece of land to farm. If it is a market economy, for instance, then you make sure that the stalls and so on are not segregated into Mamprusi market and Kusasi market, but they're all integrated. So all I want to say at this point is that we must be careful that we do not go and make statements that probably we wouldn't be able to fulfill. Because be it as made that it is a carrot, it is also a bad signal. Then the Galamseyers will say, okay, we'll stop Galamsey if you recruit us into the Ghana Armed Forces. That should not be the basis for recruitment. You see, and that was what the minority was exploiting yesterday. Although I didn't agree with them, the IGP never said that even if they are not qualified, he's going to recruit them. He was going to put in proactive measures to ensure that the recruitment was accessible to the youth in the area. That in itself wouldn't mean that indeed. The other reason why I detest the minorities' approach is that 8 years ago, they told us blatantly that they had shared slots among themselves. Whether they were qualified or not, individuals were given slots, and they gave some to the opposition then, that's the NDC, to fill. So I'm saying that
that was not even 8 years ago.
Compromise that they must keep their mouth shut.
Well, that was not 8 years ago. In fact, I think it was during the vetting of the Interior Minister. There was a statement of the sort that was made by Alexander Penyoma.
Yeah.
Eventually said it was a joke.
Before that, a member of the opposition had, proudly stated in public that he had helped 4,000 or so of his constituents to be recruited into the security services. So the point I'm making is that this political class, and I'm using political class in the context of what the minority leader has been articulating in public, they're a very danger to this democracy. Because almost everything that goes wrong in this country is orchestrated by the political class. You see, and if they cannot resolve the issues, they must dissociate themselves from that and keep quiet. And let others, neutrals and so on, like the Honorable Austin Game, who can help, or our traditional institutions, to help the government to try and restore order. In the process, we must not inflame passions. But I'm saying that we need to resolve the triggers. The installation of the rival chief. If it is not resolved, it doesn't matter how many youth on both sides or all sides that are recruited into the security services. The conflict will still continue because traditionally there cannot be two chiefs in any ethnic area, in any form or shape.
We have to find a way forward in dealing with this. And then how about the mistrust as well? Maybe briefly on that one. How should that be addressed?
The mistrust owes to all the things that I have said or talked about. Now, I've had occasion to suggest to somebody, to suggest to the authorities, that the security forces personnel must be rotated. Because even in UN peacekeeping, where the conditions are congenial, we used to serve 6 months, and then we came home. Now it's 1 year, but the conditions are more congenial. The fact of the matter is that the conditions under which at least the troops who are part of the task force, not the units who have been established, the mechanized units, the troops are living in very challenging conditions, and that has not helped morale. So they must be rotated. Again, they may have said one or two things or conducted themselves in one or the other way, which might have antagonized a party to the conflict. So in the interest of peace, you rotate them. They come home to refresh, and others go who are seen to be maybe neutral. Now, I've suggested to a general, one of the former commanders on the ground, and he told me that they were doing it. But in peacekeeping, as a confidence-building measure, you establish what we call joint mechanisms. So when we talk about patrols in Boku, it must not be patrols purely military or purely police or purely police and military, excluding the parties. These are patrols that must include the leaders of the parties in that patrol together to build confidence. And there could be many other ways in which this intervention or this mechanism can be used. But the general told me that they were doing that. But again, when I look around, that is not what I see. I don't see an integrated, joint patrol mechanism. It looks simple, but it works.
Okay.
So that could be one way of building trust. Then lastly, this conflict area has not been excluded from the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. To the best of my knowledge, for as long as this conflict has raged, no serious attempt has been made to ensure that weapons and ammunition do not find their way into the Boku area. On the contrary, we know that weapons and ammunition flow from Accra here to the conflict area. So if we're going to be able to manage the level of the violence, one mechanism will be to find ways and means of ensuring that weapons, which is the fuel and the ammunition, do not find their way into the conflict area. And all of these measures, the mediation plus the peace, I don't even want to call it peacekeeping, because there is no agreement on the ground between the parties that they will cease fire. For us to go and keep the peace. This is more about internal security. And if you want to use UN jargon, it is peace enforcement. To use force to enforce a peace that does not exist. And it comes with several challenges.
Right. And I do thank you so much for your expert analysis of this fluid situation there in Boko. As we showed you earlier, and kindly stay with us because we're still going to stay the steam on these matters of security. But as I showed you earlier, the Honorable Ladi's residence, we're getting information that that's what you see on the screen there. There were some exclusive videos we got earlier. Some persons who are close to her have just given us the notice that in fact, she had to flee for safety, that many did not even know that she was even in Pusiga at the time of this particular incident. So she was in the house and had to flee for her dear life. So the pictures, the videos you're seeing are the bullet-ridden doors leading to her house. The private residence of the Pusiga Member of Parliament. Yes. So this is the information that we have as of this morning. Certainly doesn't look good, quite concerning indeed. But we're keeping an eye on how things are playing out in the Boko municipality. So stay with us here on Key Point. We have our team moving every step of the way with the IGP yesterday. We understand he rounded up his visit in the area. Castro Senyala is going to be updating us a lot more. But that leads us to our next issue. That is another security-related matter. Well, on the 1st of April, the minority on the Defense and Interior Committee addressed the press on what they described as intelligence that they had picked regarding some 2 flights that touched down in this country. This is Reverend Tim Fojo, who is the Asin South Member of Parliament, the ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee of this 9th Parliament, addressing the press and referencing intelligence that the minority had at the time. Take a look.
Reliable intelligence intercepted by the Minority Caucus indicates that on March 20th, 2025, Air Med flights N823 AM, which is an air ambulance, and I must stress, it's an air ambulance designed specifically to carry patients, landed at Kotoka International Airport in Accra, Ghana, and remained in the country for 5 days before departing 1 a.m. on March 25th, 2025, back to Grand Canaria. Our intelligence further persists that no patient was transported by the said Air Med flights, neither to nor from Accra. There is no evidence of medical referral or patients accompanying or on board the flights on either legs of the flights. We are reliably informed that contrary to the expectation that the Air Med flight would carry patients, the purpose for which it was designed and operates, it rather on this occasion carried suspicious cargo suspected to be cocaine and cash in various United States dollars denominations. In a related development, a private jet, Kavok Air Antonov An-12B, also landed at Kotoka International Airport on March 12, 2025.
That's Reverend Tim Fojo. So he used a number of phrases, talked about they are reliably informed that there was suspicious cargo on this flight. That's cocaine and money that they suspected had been laundered. And then also says they have intelligence. So this has gone beyond the realms of allegation, per what some have also indicated. Then there was a response by government through the government spokesperson, Phyllis Kwachofosu. Just portions of it. Take a look.
Essentially, this is a cargo flight that was destined for the European Union market. And European Union regulations dictate that some specific regulatory requirements be met before any plane of that sort can enter the EU. Now, this plane originated from Luanda in Angola. It was loaded with oil drill equipment and lubricant oil, which were contained in jerrycans. It was headed for the EU market. Now, Luanda does not have the certification to carry out the sort of requirements that this plane had to meet before entering the EU market. Now, the specific requirement is a scanning and screening RA3 procedure, which is a requirement to enter the European Union. Luanda doesn't have it. The Swiss cargo facility at the Kotoka International Airport has that certification, and they can do that kind of scanning. Whilst here, it developed an engine blade fault. Its engine blade was damaged, and then it was also detected that there was severe oil leakage, which required immediate attention. For that reason, a replacement aircraft, URCEZ, with registration number CBK 7007, was brought in to evacuate the cargo. The aircraft that was damaged remained here for 13 days. That is between 12 March and 25th March 2025. After it had been inspected by aviation security officials of the Narcotic Control Commission, officials of National Security and National Intelligence Bureau, no contraband or unlawful commodities were found on the aircraft. Now, the second aircraft in question is a Hawker 800 XP with registration number N823AM. Now,
well, so it is these numbers of the flights and other related matters that the minority after this stated they have identified some inconsistencies in government response to this. And so they held on and demanded further and better particulars, which then Frederick also followed with an additional release. Prior to this, the president had actually called on the Honorable Reverend Tim Fojo to collaborate or cooperate with the security agencies with the intelligence and the reliable information that he has. We saw some letters from him and then a response from the chair of the Interior and Defense Committee of Parliament to the effect of what exactly or how this intelligence should be transmitted. As we speak and as we are now 12 days on, we do not have any indication of what the reliable information is and what the intelligence is, as was referenced by Reverend Tim Fojo. But this week, the latest is that the National Intelligence Bureau officials went to his house. The report was that he was to be picked up, but that was botched or resisted by some members of the New Patriotic Party, national executive members, and then also members of parliament. The leadership of the MPP in parliament also stormed his house and prevented the said arrest. Now, let's take a listen to Alexander Afenyomakin, who addressed the press at the residence of Reverend Tim Fojo when this National Intelligence Bureau official stormed that place on Thursday. Take a look.
Men, you know, about 20 of them. We don't need it. If you disagree, you disagree. In any event, the caucus is calling for a bipartisan inquiry into this matter. We should be able to judge all. But, well, they have de-escalated, they've left, they've gone back to wherever they came from. We want to assure the government that we will cooperate if they approach things in a decent manner. Absolutely. But we will not be intimidated. Let's engage. We are political actors. Let's assure the people that we are ready to uphold the promises of the Constitution and democracy. This must.
Well, also, the General Secretary of the party, Justin Fukonkodia, was there. And then the national organizer as well, here in Anabuachi. We'll hear them.
I even applaud the president. The president quickly responded by saying that there should be collaborative investigation. Then all of a sudden, the spokesperson to the president, who is throwing his weight about, and he must be sacked. He is rather undermining the position of the president. He rather said that even the investigation is useless because Honorable Fojo did not provide any evidence. Meanwhile, the president had instructed that there should be a collaborative investigation. And then you, as a spokesperson to the president, you are rather supposed to amplify what the president says and then explain it further. You are rather articulating a position.
Well, that's Henry Nanabuachi as well. Justin Fupokodia spoke at that same venue as well. And we'll take a listen briefly to that too.
Whether it's the Director General, whether it's the Director in charge of operation, or from Jubilee House, or maybe Frederick Ocansey send them, they will know if they are doing the right thing. They shouldn't be perturbed about the numbers. But because they know what they are doing is wrong, that's why they've left. They can call so many people who will come and support them. Their due process must be followed. Their due process must be followed.
Well, so that's what happened. Just to give you an idea of the drama and the scenes at the residence, the private residence of the Member of Parliament for Asin South, Reverend Tim Fojo, is the ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee of this 9th Parliament. About the Apiakobi. So, in fact, what you're seeing on the video on the screen right now is when these operatives got in there. I mean, the concern here is why we are at this point, if indeed there is intelligence held by the member of parliament as referenced. Should we have gotten to this point if indeed there was intelligence?
Thank you very much. A very apt question. Indeed, we don't need this kind of political temperature in the country at all. You see, there is something that I need to find out. In the course, the president had asked for collaboration in investigating the issues being raised by the committee, the minority side of the committee.
Okay, I'm sorry, there's a little issue with your microphone. We'll rectify that. No, it's not your fault. It's a technical issue. We'll rectify that. But let me bring in Ken Officer Sabaje. First off, how things played out this week, especially with the events right from April 1 till now, as I have chronicled, and now the National Intelligence Bureau's attempt to extract this said intelligence from the Member of Parliament as he referenced. And even though so far we haven't gotten any news of the said intelligence or the reliable information that he referenced that they had gotten, that these planes had suspicious cargo, contrary to the government's communication and also the airline company's own communication, as we saw in there. Colonel.
My colleagues in the studio and your wider audiences to know that this appears to be an April Fool's saga. Now, the Honorable MP, ranking member, Defense and Security portfolio, is not an ordinary person on the street. If there is a threat, a credible threat to the security of this country, I don't expect anybody of his caliber and stature to go to the media and inform them. The first elements that you want to get in touch with are the security structures of the state, the whole plethora of them, including that portfolio committee of parliament. Be that as it may, you've gone public. We know that the Reverend Intim Forjo does not work at the Kotoka International Airport. So somebody would have informed him about the goings on. Now I'm asking him today through this portal, who informed him? Was it one of the workers at the airport company? Was it one of the security elements, DNI or NIB or whoever? Or was it an external agent, maybe a member of the, what do you call them, the diplomatic community? Who gave him that information? Although he doesn't need to tell us a source, he needs to now give us better particulars about that intelligence. And so far he's been hedging. Indeed, on several instances, he's attempted to suggest that the state must come and brief him as a member of the portfolio committee. Where is the intelligence? What exactly was he told? Because when aircraft land, they fly throughout space, airspace. When they land, some persons and some goods may leave the aircraft or may go onto the aircraft. This activity or these activities per se do not mean that some money is being laundered or some drug is being trafficked. So far, the honorable member of parliament has failed. And I'm suggesting that it was an April Fool's attempt, which has gone bonkers. And I think if in the long run it turns out that there was no intelligence, indeed he has backtracked from the use of intelligence, now he has suggested that there were suspicions. And I'm saying that if this is the caliber of people who govern Ghana, then we are doomed. Because you don't eat a benkwa and go to bed and dream and wake up and tell Ghanaians that you have intelligence that some drugs have been trafficked into the country or money has been laundered. So that is a broad picture. Then you have how the government has responded. And up until today, the government has been reacting to an April Fool's agenda that has been set by the Reverend Intim Fojo, which is very unfortunate. Once again, because our political culture is not to brief, is not to update, is not to inform. We keep things until we are forced, then we come and chip in something. But assuming that there is intelligence, I would wish, based on what I see in the media, you have a regional minister or you have a minister of state, you have an IGP or you have a police CID boss, you have the chief or the head of Narcotics Control Commission lined up before the press. The politician will issue a political statement. The police will come in with the criminal investigation aspects. The narcotics control will pitch in with the narcotic side. The Financial Intelligence Center or YOCO will come in with the money laundering side. We don't see that. So what is happening is that Reverend Tim Fojo is shaping the discourse, setting the agenda, and the government is now running after these folks, which is very unfortunate. So the government must come in, and tell us what it is. When I say government, I don't mean the minister for communication or communications. That's what I'm talking about. The technical security and intelligence folks who have the intelligence must come out and diffuse or refute what Reverend Intim Fojo is parading as truths, which are not true. I've heard through the back door grapevine that the minority knows that there is no substance in what he's saying. But for political partisanship, they cannot own up and apologize and retract that maybe he misspoke or whatever it is. So others are saying that if he wants to play the business of the Honorable Ablakwa, then he must come with the evidence. And there's no evidence. Because drug trafficking and money laundering are not minor issues. They are serious national security issues. And anybody who claims that these things have happened and that they have threatened or undermined national security has a responsibility to prove. It is not the government that must prove that it doesn't exist. It is the Reverend Minister who must come and prove that this thing happened. Because he doesn't work at Kotuka. I don't work there. But if I take my phone and tell anybody that I have information that some material have been moved from Kotuka to Media General, I must be able to break it down. What types of material, in which vehicles, how many of them, how many people, to the best of the information that I got. We are not seeing any of those things. He's just throwing in generalities and eventually saying that it's a suspicion. You don't work with suspicions when it comes to, of course you can work with suspicions. But in this case, he's making a serious allegation and it must be beyond suspicion. Indeed, we must go back to his own words, that he's got intelligence, which is an abuse term. But intelligence means that information has been acquired, is being collated, is being analyzed, and the end result is what we call the intelligence. The substance of that information, that drugs have moved into this country. What drugs? Were they Panadol? Were they Tramadol? Were they ice? What exactly were they? He's not said any of those things. Now, the state says that nothing like that has happened, and he's daring the state that is not true. Is that how we were taught to debate when we went to school?
Colonel, he was specific. He said cocaine. I mean, I think in the video I played, he said cocaine and money that had been laundered. So,
if it's cocaine, the packaging, how they were contained or containerized, for instance, how many vehicles? Look, I've heard our good friend Hobson Adoye before narrating a similar incident about a very powerful West African citizen who used the gate reserved for the president and people at his level to drive through that gate with 2 vehicles loaded with a number of suitcases to an aircraft, private aircraft, parked, boarded. You see, even in that narrative, Hobson Adoye was able to give very substantive details. He had the car numbers, for instance. He had a number of suitcases, for instance. He had the timing, he had everything. You see, except that by the time he got there, the act had already happened and somebody under pressure had allowed the gentleman to board the aircraft and leave. Reverend Tim Fojo is not like that. He's a very powerful entity in our governance structure. He's got access more than you and I have. Mm-hmm. So why didn't he? In fact, the whole argument is, if somebody who is an MP, so-called shadow defense minister, has intelligence at the heart of national security, does that entity go to the media or it goes to the state? That is the question we must ask in Tim Fojo. Otherwise, he is not fit per the way and manner in which he approached this issue. He is not fit to call himself a shadow minister. But he's done more damage. And I've suggested to somebody that when the global surveys happen this year, 2025, Corruption Perception Index, based on perception, you see that Ghana is going to rank very low. Then the opposition will latch onto it that Ghana or the NDC administration indeed is corrupt. So that is the agenda the opposition is setting, to find ways and means of, painting the government black and by extension undermining the integrity of the state. And I think it's a very serious issue that at some stage it needs to be taken to account. Hiding behind constitutional provisions or whatever legal provisions, which again I don't agree with, got the principle of the rule of law. One of the principles or tenets is equality before the law. Why we have crafted a certain arrangement where it is near impossible to arrest an MP. I could have been an MP. I mean, what's the difference between an MP and those of us who are not MPs? We know that empirically there are more sensible, more well-educated or better educated people on the streets than some of those in parliament. So when you get into parliament, it doesn't mean that you are the most sensible. That's not what it means. All that it means is that probably you use money, galamsey money or whatever, cocaine money, whatever, to buy the votes and get to parliament.
Well, not in all cases, not at least not in.
Well, the evidence
those exceptions
is there.
Yes,
there is no MP. There is no MP who can justify how they found the money. First of all, to compete in the primaries. Party primaries.
There are two. There's a former member of parliament and a member of parliament in the studio. They disagree. So as not to. Yes.
Some may not.
That's why I say there are some exceptions to the situation, because there's actually there's some research to that effect. There's some research to that effect that yes, but it's not. It's not all.
Just a moment.
Not all. Yes.
Alfred, the Honorable Apia Kubi. Yes. Is from the same area as Santiachim.
Yes.
Abe Baku essay Abe Duasa.
No, that is not correct.
So it's not a question of whether.
No, you could have said that some of them, but
yeah, some of them,
yes,
who probably are the majority, have tainted the integrity of the political class. That's the argument I'm making.
Well, Colonel Festus, thank you. Yes, and you see, but the fundamental, I think that the point obviously has to be made, and that's where maybe we're going to get to, as to whether the law in Article 115 in its entirety precludes members of parliament from being arrested or questioned for one statement or the other under any circumstance. But Rabbi Apakiba, I was on you before I went earlier.
Yes.
And that's the question that Colonel Festus Abaje asked, that beyond the press conference that was addressed on the 1st of April, he says he wants to treat this as an April Fool's something. But beyond that press conference that Reverend Tim Fojo addressed and put out this for the first time, wouldn't you have expected that maybe a report or the intelligence so-called would have been made available to the security agencies?
Indeed, I agree to part of the statements is made that we need to be a little bit more careful in management of information. I agree with that. And secondly, I think Parliament should also be in a position to give orientation to parliamentarians as to how, you know, they conduct business or conduct affairs, even in and outside Parliament. I also support that. Again, we should all be very mindful of the security of the state. Either way, whoever is in charge, we should be very careful and mindful about it. And when I refer to orientation being given to parliamentarians, I want to believe that if there had been, you know, such training in information management, even among members of parliament, I've been a parliamentarian, so I'm speaking from experience, then you would probably be able to handle such critical information carefully. Indeed, if ever there was any such intelligence, as Kenneth said, I would have thought, from my perspective, I would have asked that the matter be handled by the appropriate agencies. In fact, as a whole committee, you have the capacity to invite every member of government into the committee to share information. And on this occasion, probably I would have preferred that, well, the committee gravitated towards the security architecture and provided information so that, because these are intelligence information to be processed before the advertisement. Be it as was done, it came out before the preliminary conversation with the security agencies. And the president also commented on it and said that you must undertake collaborative investigation into matters raised, which was the starting point. So I'm told by you that there was a letter written to Honorable Reverend Tim Fojo.
No, he was contacted.
Yes, maybe a letter or any means of contact.
I didn't say letter, yes,
right.
But essentially.
So, and he responded, according to you, that how do I collaborate in this matter?
So
you gave me this information.
He wrote through the, in fact, because you talked about the committees.
Yes, yes. And you are saying that,
in fact, having the committee to invite the security agencies before them.
Right.
The chair of the committee indicated that that had to go through a procedure.
Right.
For that to be done.
And I'm told by you that there was communication to him that he should come. And he wrote back to them that, how do I?
No, well, I haven't.
You didn't say that?
No, I haven't.
No, I heard that.
Okay, I
that
didn't say
he
that.
asked how it could be done. And I didn't hear a response from the security agencies to him how he ought to do it.
Maybe you heard it somewhere else, but I didn't
Okay, good.
Yes.
So, be it that if it came to the committee and the ranking member, indeed, the ranking member is the one leading the minority side into the committee. So, if he requires something, he goes through his chairman, and the chairman will do the follow-up and get the party before the committee. So if he initiated an invitation to somebody from the Interior Ministry or Security System, and the chairman asked him to wait for the process to go on, well, ordinarily, one would expect the ranking member to expect the chairman to handle the situation until the person appeared before the committee. I don't know. I'm not privy to the time between then and the publication. I'm sure maybe he thought that the matter was delaying or he was not receiving the right attention, or anyhow, he found it necessary to go to the press, and he did. Then the president gave instructions that get all members collaborate in this investigation. And when the president says get people collaborate, I'm not sure the president was instructing that people must be arrested and brought to meetings and things like that. You see, if you invite somebody to appear before any committee doing any investigation, the invitation first and foremost is not compulsory. And the invitation is a premise on the fact that we need you provide information to help investigations. So more or less, you are being invited as a witness, if you like. And I'm not sure that you want to create a hostile witness out of the witness you are inviting. So you find a way to invite him to come before you to share information that will aid your work. So he is not a villain, so to speak, the person who is coming to help you. So either way, let's even retire the mode of doing it, whether or not the various expectations were met in terms of the security relationship and the security architecture of the country and the expectation of the system. Even if it was not followed, at the point it has become public knowledge. President has given directions, and I would expect people to even court him to come so that he will share the information for our total collective interest. And he did not forget that all of us are involved, all of us as Ghanaians. So it is not if you are saying that arrest him and bring him. He also has said...
But you referenced the president's release.
Yes.
That yes, he had made this allegation.
Collaborate.
So collaborate with the cities. And
so
it's
the
been
president
over
was
10
suggesting
days, we
that
understand.
Find a way to get him to share information with you so that you will use
Which other
the
way
information.
would you, in which way would you have expected that if the security agencies were extending the invitation and then the invitation wasn't also being
Indeed, there was
a
time where myself, I got involved in this so-called attempt to influence parliamentarians.
The
OSP
to bribe you.
Wrote a letter to me that I should. So I showed it to the speaker that the OSP has called on me to show appearance. The speaker, in his wisdom, decided that let's create a platform here for him to come and conduct whatever interview. So the platform was created by Right Honorable Abdul Babi. So the man came there, and we had a conversation.
The investigator from the OSP came to Parliament.
So we had a conversation. Whatever I needed to share, I shared with him. So in the same way, if Honorable was even not too sure about the mode of the invitation, he could also have passed through the speaker that, well, I have this invitation to apply. If there was any invitation to begin with, then the speaker would have arranged for a meeting within the House. And on this occasion, I think he was speaking for and on behalf of the minority side of the committee. So then the committee or said committee members could have shown presence. I don't understand why that facility was also not exploited. The one that Mr. Speaker gave to me at the time that the OSP wanted to interrogate me. So I don't understand why they did not undertake. But in all cases, if you want information from somebody, unless that person is charged with an offense. And in fact, arrest connotes that there is an offense. And the person that you intend to arrest him must know the offense which he has been charged, for which he is being arrested. See, the arrest system is also follows a procedure. You just don't accost me in the street, just put me in a car. No, that's kidnapping. So we have to be careful the way we execute even mandates of institutions. So Reverend Tim Fojo, if they needed him, if they were not arresting him, I'm sure that I have explained and discussed various means by which they would have made contact with Reverend Tim Fojo, rather than seeking to arrest him. And the mode of they trying to even arrest him was not proper.
But really, to the extent that this is as sensitive an issue as alleging, in fact, not even an allegation, making an emphatic statement that you have intelligence and you have been reliably informed.
Yes.
Should he be, and you said you agree to that call that this matter could have been handled better by the member of parliament.
Nevertheless,
because this matter, holding on to the said if there is any intelligence,
I am sure that if Reverend had gone to Speaker, or the security agencies had gone to Speaker saying we need to interrogate or we need to collaborate with member of parliament in respect of these allegations put in the public domain, I'm sure Speaker would have provided a facility for them to meet and share information. But it didn't happen. But I'm saying that it was also equally wrong for them to accost him in his house and seek to drag him into, assuming you were even successful in bringing him to the table and he decided to exercise his right of silence. What information were you going to use in doing the work that you have been so mandated by the president to do? So what I'm saying is that let's be cool heads. Let's try to, in fact, it is important that we investigate this matter to the very end. But let's find the modus of operation that will help all of us, so that the man who is providing information will not feel intimidated, will not feel coerced, so that he will share the information as a Ghanaian to the institutions that are mandated to protect all of us, so that that information will be useful to him who is using it, to the institution that for which he represents, and for Ghanaians for whose interests we are all serving. So I'm saying that let us cool down, let us find the right approaches, and let us also collaborate carefully, and let us also have the whole principle of supporting the security architecture of the country to protect all of us as citizens of the country, not trying to intimidate, not trying to violate laws. In fact, arrest, and I have explained it. So even where you have charged somebody, let that person know the offense for which he has been charged and for which reason he is being arrested. And arrest, we know how it is done. It is not done.
I see, but you see that. And I'm coming to Donald Davian at this point. You heard Ken Officer Sabuaji clearly, from the security perspective, explain what intelligence means. So the member of parliament cannot say, for instance, that you have intelligence when there is really no proof as we speak of the said intelligence, because that expression of intelligence, as explained by Kenel, is information that has gone through authentication, verification, and then confirmed. The Ghana Civil Aviation Authority issued a press statement this week, which we have a copy of, we put on the screen, indicating that, in fact, they were responding to these said allegations of the Reverend Tim Fojo. They have flatly denied any knowledge of that landing permits of all aircraft entering Ghana are issued by the GCA in conjunction with the national security and not Ghana airports. Also, all security checks were conducted by aviation security and national security, while ground handling services were conducted by Swissport Company for the aircraft that arrived. They have also indicated point 3 and 4 that there was no evidence of any illegal substance on board both aircraft. The managing director does not know or has never or spoken to Reverend Intim Fojo. As if that's not enough, we also have a press release from the Ghana Airports Company Limited. This is Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. The Ghana Airports Company Limited also issued a press statement, essentially denying this as well. So, Honorable Femiko, is that the case that this reference by Honorable Atachia, who is legal counsel to Reverend Intim Fojo, that the action of the NIB officials is a violation of Article 115 of the 1992 Constitution, which essentially gives members of Parliament some protection and privileges against arrest? Can that hold in this instance?
Thank you very much. Let me state for the records that my brother Intim Fojo and I have engaged on this matter on Metro TV. And Good Morning Ghana. And I pointed nearly in similar ways that Kena Abuaji has espoused, and also some aspects of what my senior brother has said. I told him that as the ranking member on the committee...
that you should have really engaged him in Parliament before you guys coming on TV.
No, I only got to know that we're being paneled together for the morning.
I see.
And I told him, I went through the protocols, that as the ranking member for the newly established or constituted Committee on Defense and Interior, you have very vast powers. And in addition to having vast powers, you are also, on your own terms, the elected representative of the people of Asin South. So you could demand for further information if indeed you had some intelligence, i.e., you could write to the agencies that have anything to do with the operations at the airport for some further and better particulars regarding the 2 aircrafts that you referenced. He didn't do that. He only went to town, and I told him that he only went to town to peddle propaganda and falsehood.
You think that's what it is?
That's what it is. And I told him that he peddled that through his pastoral teeth. He didn't like it. So no, I told him that
you are being personal.
Yes. So I told him that I want to admonish him. He wouldn't take it. Then I said, look, in 1 Corinthians 10:23, all things are permissible unto man to do, but the end thereof. So he being a pastor and a member of Parliament, we entered Parliament together. And I've always have high regard for Intim Fojo. But in this matter, he is drawing blanks. I told him that he's drawing blanks. Because here are the issues. When an aircraft takes off from any jurisdiction and enters our airspace, it's a matter of record. And it's also a matter of national security. The aircraft has to be cleared before it lands on any tarmac in this jurisdiction. When it lands, the time it takes off. Because when an aircraft lands in our laws, the number of hours or the duration you spent on our tarmac, we charge you. There's a levy that you pay. So these are all documented. There's a document we called manifest. Manifest means whatever is contained in the aircraft before it lands, human beings, cargo, everything is indicated in the manifest. Before it takes off, another manifest is prepared. Whatever it's carrying, whatever it's taking off with it, is also indicated in the manifest. And the manifest is also filed. It's part of the ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization protocols. Then you must go through. Government responded to the propaganda and said, the things you are alleging never happened. Then you accuse government of the fact that government was gagging state agencies from speaking to the issue. Now state agencies have released statements discrediting the things you put out, discounting the things you put out, and saying and putting you to street proof. You say you won't listen. And please, the invocation of Article 115, 116, 117 of our Constitution is totally inapplicable. And let me demonstrate why. In Article 115,
this is what the framers say. There shall be freedom of speech, debate, freedom of speech, comma, debate, and proceedings in Parliament. And that freedom shall not be impeached or questioned in any court or place out of Parliament. Some scenarios have been given. First, Ocansey, the expression of that freedom is only absolute during proceedings of Parliament, actually on the floor of Parliament. That is why it cannot be questioned. Then the comments must also be in respect of parliamentary proceedings. Now, when you go and hold a press conference, and put out what clearly, manifestly amounts to lies, and you invoke parliamentary proceedings, parliamentary immunity under Article 115, it won't save you.
That even that there shall be freedom of speech, debate, and proceedings in Parliament.
Hold on, listen to the language. There shall be freedom of speech, comma, debate, and proceedings in Parliament. And that freedom shall not be impeached. Which freedom? The one you have in Parliament. It is not sacrosanct. When you go and commit a crime, you can't be invoking this provision. The law will deal with you, even though you are a member of Parliament. So that, for instance, when you are a member of Parliament and you embezzle funds belonging to Parliament, then you invoke freedom of speech, did debate in proceedings of Parliament? No. So this invocation that they continue to do in respect to Article 115 is totally inapplicable. Then they're also invoking Article 116. It says, subject to the provisions of this article, but without prejudice to the general effect of Article 115 of this Constitution, civil or criminal proceedings shall not be instituted against a member of Parliament in any court or place out of Parliament for any matter or a thing brought by him in or before Parliament by a petition, bill, motion, or otherwise. Now, the otherwise here, in respect of the matters he's raising, could have been a question. As the ranking member, he could have filed a question directed at the Minister for National Interior, responsible for National Interior, for instance, or Defense, or Transport Minister who has an oversight over civil aviation, to come and respond to the issues he's raising. He didn't do any of that. So you are daring the state, and the state is asking that you should come and respond to complaints that you are raising, and you say that you should not be arrested. He will be arrested.
He will be arrested.
He will be arrested.
In under what condition and circumstance?
You see, let me tell you. Hold on. I just told you that this Constitution doesn't give a member of Parliament an absolute immunity against arrest. Indeed, if you listen to their press conference, they said that if you go through Speaker has laid down procedure that outside institutions can engage members of Parliament in matters such as this. All right? But even within last week, that procedure was invoked by the National Security in respect of the engagement they had with the Honorable Mustafa Yusuf and I believe my brother A+.
So Mustafa is not your brother.
Oh, Mustafa is my brother. Okay. So my brother Mustafa Yusuf.
Thank you for the correction.
So and my brother A+. So it's not as if this is not in effect, but that is in respect of very having regard to the laid down procedure. But when in Fojo you are daring the security agencies, they ask you for information, you won't provide information, and you continue to deceive public officers, it will be treated as crime qua crime.
What does that mean?
Crime qua crime is that when you commit a crime, that the security of agencies have a way of handling and investigating the crime.
Arrest is arrest.
Now, yes,
arrest
is an option.
Else, but through
arrest. Hold on, arrest is an option. But let me also advise.
That one? If it's not arrest,
it's an arrest. It's an attempted arrest, and I'm saying it's an option open to them, depending on your conduct.
And let me also advise the security agencies that under the Criminal Procedure Act, they can actually issue criminal summons and have it served on him for him to come and answer for whatever whatever offense.
You know what that procedure means.
Yes, I know what that procedure. So it's not always necessary that you go after some. And I thought that nobody should have gone after him. If we feel strongly about the things he has said as constituting deceit of public officers, we issue criminal proceedings, criminal summons, have it served on him for him to come and answer to the charges.
Well, I understand that the minority have petitioned the speaker over this attempted arrest and so on. Lawyer Martin Kpebu is on Zoom with us. Going to go for this quick break. When we're back, I'll bring in Lawyer Martin Kpebu on this matter. Colonel Festus Abaji will also have his final take on this. Stay with us. on 3news.com. We are also being listened to on a number of other radio stations across the world. And Lawyer Martin Pebu is still with us. We'll get into the details of some of the messages that you have sent this morning. And as always, here on Key Point, I'm clothed by Cobra Clothing. You can locate them on the Spintex Road, opposite the Ghana, on the same, within the same building, on the Ghana Made store, on the Spintex Road, specifically before the 18 junction. So if you want this outfit and many others you've seen me wear on Key Point, you can call them on 026 055 8056. That is 026 055 8056. That's 026 055 8056. Martin Pebu is on with us now, but Mr. Dafumbo, just a quick one.
Yes.
If you talk about 115, Article 115, and the privileges that members of parliament enjoy, and you say he can still be arrested, under what circumstance? Quickly.
115 is in respect of proceedings in parliament, on the floor. If you go engage in peddling falsehoods outside of parliament, you can be arrested.
So does that mean that a member of parliament can make any statement without any substance on the floor of parliament, and the person cannot be arrested?
Yes, because there are parliamentary procedures in checking you to retract, to apologize. All those procedures are available at the behest of the speaker.
I'm asking this question
and again,
because
I want to expand
in the same instance.
Yes.
You see, I asked this question relating to the statement that the minority leader Alexander Panyomakin made, right? Emphatically, that some NIB officials stole money at the residence of the former Bank of Ghana governor, 10,000 cedis and jewelry. As we speak, we don't know the end of it. The National Intelligence Bureau, through the Attorney General, has come out to deny that. Alexander Panyomakin has not been made to retract or apologize, as you are saying.
Yes, so a member...
So what is happening?
So a member needs to draw speaker's attention, particularly under Order 1221C of our standing orders, which is to the effect that a debate or a comment from a member can be interrupted on those grounds. So when you are misinforming the public, you can be interrupted, and speaker's attention will be drawn to it, and you'll be made to withdraw it and apologize. But let me respond to two quick things. One, the letter from the chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee responding to Intim Fojo, the ranking member, happened the same day. In fact, he wrote his letter on the 2nd of April, and in the afternoon of the same day,
he responded,
James Agaga responded to him, and it was to this effect: I hereby acknowledge receipt of your letter dated 2nd April 2025 in respect of the above named subject matter, and wish to respond as follows. 1. In view of the fact that the allegation made by your good self in relation to drug trafficking and money laundering with the involvement of 2 aircrafts, namely Med flight number Nancy, figure 8, figure 2, figure 3, Alpha Mother, and Kavok Air Antonov, Alpha Nancy, figure 1, figure 2, Bravo, which landed at the Kotoka Airport border on the commission of crime. It is important that you collaborate with the security agencies to expose any wrongdoing, and also to safeguard the reputation of our beloved country. 2, subsequently, urgent steps will be taken to invite the agencies listed above and the National Security Coordinator to brief the committee on the outcome of investigations conducted so far in relation to your request when the House reconvenes. Now, how does this amount to preventing you from of your request not being acceded to? The chairman said, go and collaborate with the security agencies. When you are done, then they will be invited to brief us, because your collaboration with them by way of statement and further evidence you would have given to the agencies will form part of the record for which they will come and brief Parliament on. In any case, when they come, you'll be sitting in a composite capacity as the complainant as well as the ranking member at the head table. I told him that, look, these allegations,
First he said intelligence. When I said there are matters of record, then it shifted from using intelligence to suspicions. Then again, I countered him by saying that multitude of suspicions do not constitute proof.
Multitude of suspicions
do not constitute proof. Okay. State versus Autry. That's the authority on this matter.
Evidence.
Do not constitute proof. You understand?
Okay.
So he can't prove anything. He's just throwing. Right. He's just throwing and drawing blank in this matter. And I think that he needs to apologize to the good people of this country, to his constituents, and to the security agencies, because they've come to deny and disclaim the things he said, and the sources he claims to have obtained them from do not exist.
All right. Let me bring you briefly on this. I know you're on to something. So just a quick thought on this particular one. Now that the minority, we understand, has petitioned the Speaker about the attempted arrest of Reverend Tim Fojo. They said they want due process to be put in place. The security agency should write to the Speaker if they want him invited for any form of questioning at all. Really, what's the issue here?
Due process, we need to get to the bottom of it, right? So if they say they want him to be invited so that he can give information, for me, I don't see anything wrong as long as you know the protocols. It will be done in the office of the this is one of the conference rooms. You remember the last time for Yusuf and then A+, they said the Emmanuel Quest conference room. So for me, once it's an opportunity for him to give the NIB information, and he will not be arrested and taken into custody and molested and kept beyond 48 hours and tortured and all those things. Once all those things are not part, but just for him to face NIB and tell them what he knows, I think I'll go that the due process should follow. So the minority should let the law work. Tim Fojo should give the information, whatever he has, to the investigative body, the NIB. Because you see what Honorable Dafia has read Article 115, etc. The immunity of MPs is not supposed to be, this is what you call it, 100% against all of their conduct. No, it's a functional immunity. You see, functional, relating to the work of Parliament, right? But if sometimes the MP does something that shows that he's gone overboard and it doesn't appear to be strictly within the functions, yes, he should be held accountable. Even sometimes when he's performing the function and he's doing it in a way that doesn't appear regular, okay, yes, that one, to questions of accountability will arise. Because, you know, some have even questioned why he didn't pass on the information quietly since he's a ranking member on the Interior Committee. Why he didn't even pass it on quietly, etc. So my bottom line is that once we will not abuse his rights, we should follow due process to get him to cooperate with the law enforcement agencies.
Simple. Okay. Well, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much. And a final comment in a minute. Colonel Festus Abwaji, say for you, all of this, you treat it as a hoax, and time shouldn't be wasted on it. At all.
Well, beyond that, materially, the Honorable MP ranking member has jeopardized national security. Today is 12th April. He initiated that hoax, if that is what you choose to call it, on the 1st of April. If any damage were to be done or would have been done to the state, they would have materialized already. So at this stage, given that his title is honorable, he should be patriotic enough to walk himself freely of his own volition to the authorities to present the intelligence that he says he has. After all, if you have intelligence which is to the benefit of the state, why are you scared in divulging that intelligence? So all that I want to say is that he should walk himself freely. Let's put away all these parliamentary procedures and whatever it is, and walk freely to the authorities, whether NIB or National Security or YOKO or whatever it is, or Narcotic Control Board or FIC, whatever, and put the information, the substantive intelligence, before them, so they can work with the intelligence to make Ghana secure. If he's not doing that, then I'm tempted to suggest to him and his constituents that they are only playing politics, which in the process has jeopardized national security. I think that is all I want to say.
Colonel Professor Sabaji, do appreciate you for this, and thank you so much for joining us. And that's going to lead us to our final issue this morning. And this came in late last night. Electricity tariffs have gone up by 14.7%, 75% as a matter of fact, water by 4%. And then, in the midst of all this, the ECG containers that, according to the former MD, are misplaced, not missing, still on the radar. Our attention cannot and would not be swayed from that. Ben Boachi is joining us after this quick break. Stay with us.
Hello, I am Ahmed Haidar, the CEO of the Spot Furniture. I want today to speak about our company. We have all the products for the house and for the office. You have the living room, dining rooms, bedrooms, office furniture, starting from tables to chairs, center tables, wooden center tables. We have carpets for your office, for your living room, for your bedroom, all very nice designs.
If you need furniture for your homes, your offices, schools, churches, even if you are somebody, a photographer who loves to take pictures
So on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279 all across the world on 3news.com. Ben Boakye is Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, joining us in the studio. Mr. Boakye, good morning. Thank you for joining us. It's always great to have you. Now, before we went to bed yesterday, we're hit with this news of over 14.7% increase in electricity tariffs to take effect from May, and then water at 4%. And this, according to the PRC, is as a result of all the issues we're talking about, the non-payment and to these utility companies and their operations, the impact of the cedi depreciation and so on. This is quite a burden for the people to carry, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I understand the difficulty Ghanaians go through any time the tariff is increased. I mean, as an industry watcher, as far as, the bases are right and it's informed by economics, we usually will not have problem with tariff adjustments. But what we have seen in the past and even now is that, we tend to ignore other factors, that have implication on how sustainable the energy sector can be and just focus on adjusting the tariff. And anytime we have adjusted the tariff, the trend shows that you have more, inefficiency creeping in because you have a lot more, dropping into the illegal equation. So you have people becoming illegal consumers and we don't have the systems to actually track them down. So it becomes counterproductive to keep adjusting the tariff and not do the other things that are relevant. That is, improving efficiency in the infrastructure and making sure anybody consuming power actually pays. So over time, we have been increasing the burden on the few who are responsible in paying their bills. Right? So if you are a responsible customer and you keep paying your bills, then you get the increments and its effect. And those who are stealing the power, don't even care whether you increase it or not. And that for me is the difficulty. How we have been irresponsible over time, mismanaged the entire power system and allowing people to consume power illegally. And that doesn't appear to be the focus of those who manage the power system. And we keep increasing the tariff and we are not addressing the inefficiencies in the power sector. And that for me is the difficulty. And we need to holistically assess how the energy sector is governed so that we are not just increasing the tariff on those who are responsible whilst people get away with it. And so, the trend clearly shows that the more we increase it, more people fall into the illegality bracket and we are losing more revenue.
As if people finding ways of still stealing power.
Absolutely.
But in the midst of all this, the ECG procurement matters still there. And when I sat with Jubik Mahama just a little over a week ago, he indicated that as far as they are concerned, there is a ruling that guides the ECG procurement. Nothing untoward has been done. I want us to just recall just a brief of that interview I had with him. In there is Alexander Penyomakin, who was the then board chair of ECG, referencing what he described as a cartel, essentially, in the ECG procurement. Take a look.
That report. Who approves the request for materials on behalf of ECG?
Who approves the request? It goes through a process and then it finally comes to my table.
So you are the final?
Yes, for the requisite materials that are needed, yes.
So you know specifics as to how much in terms of procurements are made by the ECG?
Yes.
I want you to take a listen to your own former board chair when you were MD.
Okay, play it.
This is Alexander Penyomakin.
Okay, play it.
About this syndicate, which you talk about, that if they had contacted you, things would have been different. Take a look.
It's a system problem that I will any day support this minister to embark on reforms. It is true that when these containers come, there is some connivance with some customs officials, and they sell these containers, these cables, that ECG needs after the supplier has been paid. They sell the container and then people resell back to ECG. Are we pretending we don't know? Instead of us to pay attention and kill the rots, then we come here, then MPP, NDC, issue at stake.
So that's a former board chair of ECG. He seems to have knowledge of the illegality that we're all talking about at the board chair. You're asking a question?
I think that's really a confirmation.
What was done by him?
It's a confirmation of what we know has been happening in ECG. And if you try to respond to some of these issues, I mean, Mr. Muhammad think it's personal. I don't even know him anywhere to make it personal. We only look at the issues and address them. I mean, what we have seen in that procurement report, everybody in Ghana has a role, somewhat, in making sure that we get to the bottom of it. Right? Everybody has a role in ensuring that we get to the bottom of this. And it's surprising that it appears we don't even have security agencies. We have multiple of them. We have Yoko, we have the police, we have the special prosecutor, all of them seeing the content of the report. And everybody, for 2 weeks, has been silent about how 3,000 containers became 2,500, and now we are seeing over 1,300 of them cannot even be found in ECG at a port. And everybody is quiet. And to put that in perspective, if you lined up 40-footer containers, you know, from here, you probably get to close to Nkoko, you know, for 3,000 containers. That is how reckless we have been
just 1,000
with public resources. And nothing seems to be happening. And we are all happy with it. And you look at, you know, the breaches in the report, where, one, the procurement officer in charge is not qualified to even do procurement. They've signed contracts.
He said that's a managerial role, so you don't necessarily need any qualification.
I mean, then we should just send teachers to go and do operations. We should just send teachers where we lack doctors to go and manage hospitals. You know, the reason why there are procurement experts is for them to be able to comply with the law and be able to do things right. You know, and now the conversation is sometimes even shifted to an attorney general opinion. I'm not a lawyer, but are we now saying that attorney general is now the forum for, you know, interpreting our laws? No, we went to court, and even the court said that we should go to the procurement board, because that is where the issues ought to be addressed before it comes to court. So why was ECG going to attorney general for cover to do procurement breaches?
No, attorney general will prefer opinions.
Absolutely.
Which are not necessarily
interpretation of the law. Absolutely. So it's the management of ECG saying that we should hold the attorney general responsible for the breaches of the procurement law and the mess that we are actually seeing. And we have billions of CDs of ECGs and public funds.
Please, the courts have variously said that opinions to public persons are not necessarily binding on them.
Okay. It's just an opinion.
Yes, it's an opinion.
Yeah. But you still have the discretion to, you know.
It's to guide you.
No, Ben, sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, so that's the problem that we do have. And I'm expecting that we would quickly dissect this matter and hold people accountable so that we can deviate from this kind of practices and not continue the way we have done things.
So you also go on this path of marking that this is a cartel. It's connivance.
I'm happy that Aptenyo is pointing us to that direction so that we depoliticize the conversation and that we go to the center of the issues.
But does it not concern
I don't think that the issues are politicized when there's data and evidence.
From the board chair. The only thing that I would say is that Aptenyo probably will be a very good witness because from where he has started, he is acknowledging knowledge of some of the things that they were doing wrongly, albeit that he was saying that his warnings were not heeded to. Nevertheless, we are now finding the facts. So I'm sure that collaboration with Aptenyo will bring out some of the issues that underline some of these procurement
even the report of the committee confirms the things that he was saying. For example, where a contractor has been awarded a contract to go and clear some of the containers. 47 of them were cleared. One was missing in transit. They delivered, you clear 47, you deliver 46. We can't find the one. Beyond that, you even cheated the state by undervaluing your declarations even though you have charged ECG for it, to the tune of about 4 million plus, almost 5 million Ghana cedis.
The contractor.
The contractor. So that money has gone to the pocket of the contractor. These contractors are still walking in the corridors of ECG, claiming their funds.
And they are being paid also.
They are being paid. So those are issues that we need to address immediately, because the mess is so huge and everybody is free and they are still claiming their fees. All these containers that were imported, they got their money. Somebody imports a container, he says he doesn't have money to clear them, but he has money to keep paying people to import more. And they are free and nothing is happening to them, as if we cannot track how these things happen.
In the contract, are they not supposed to deliver the containers to the receiving?
So that is another conversation. ECG does the contracts on CIF. So you terminate at the port. Once you bring it to the port, you take your money. So ECG then has responsibility to go and clear the containers. And that's because I think they have exemptions that they can apply. If you have exemptions and you have your own shipping unit, why are you now contracting people to clear it for you? Instead of just presenting, having an arrangement with GRA, they know your shipping officers, so that once the container comes, they put the documents before them and they clear them. Now you take it through another contractor, pay them money, and then the limited taxes that they have to pay to the state, they also cheat the state on that, and they take the money into their pockets.
So
it's a clear case of a cartel.
It's really from the contract. Mama says he wasn't invited or he wasn't consulted by the committee and so on.
But was he supposed to be invited? It's not a criminal investigation. There's a committee that has been set up to actually look at the numbers and reconcile them. And the committee has looked at the numbers, reconciled them with the existing institution. ECG is still a going concern. The procurement officers who were there, they are still there. And those interviews that he grants, you see the inconsistencies. As some point he says he's not the one responsible to answer to some questions. And now he says he has to be consulted by the committee to give what evidence. If there's a criminal investigation, that's giving perspective on what happened. In fact, they themselves even said that he was the one who was given the pressure to keep procuring. It's in the report. To sidestep all the procurement rules and procure 400% more than what their own procurement plan actually says. All right? And this one actually states how irrelevant our procurement really is if somebody can just breach procurement planning this way. All right? Because the law is clear that you need to plan your procurement for the year. Have the relevant, individuals in there to plan, get approval from the board, and stay with the procurement plan. You can go overboard 400% and tell the public that it's irrelevant. The procurement law is irrelevant in that respect, and you can procure as much as you want so far as you have needs. And when the burden comes, it sits with the state. All right? And you heard what Finance Minister was saying. Over 68 billion has to be paid. You are not paying the power generators, those who generate the power, but you are happy to import a product, not clear them, and people find them somewhere else. They are selling them to refineries who are converted. We ship them back for them to do another cable for us.
But what do you reckon is happening? Because we got information about some of the ECG cables found in the bush, some boxes of meters found in uncompleted buildings and so on. Since the announcement of these missing containers, it's been one thing or the other. These are the videos we're seeing in there. What's going on?
No, I think possibly people were hiding some of these stolen cables and items that they took from the containers. And recently we also had reports of even legitimate ECG business being attacked by citizens.
Yeah.
It clearly tells you that people are also getting impatient with the kind of accountability that we are getting from this kind of conversation. So now when they see cables and see anything ECG moving, they want to track and be sure that it is not a stolen good. Right? So we have to take this accountability question seriously and be able to track where some of these cables are. And you can also imagine that those who have some of these cables in their possession, trying to hide them or dump them somewhere so that they don't get arrested and all of it. So we need to zoom in quickly to make sure that we can track all these volumes of consignment that have been imported with our money, with taxpayer money, right? Because the revenues that were collected, which were not used to pay the value chain, pay the IPPs, pay the transmission company and the generators. That debt sits with Ghana government. And we have borrowed to pay part of them. We still have 68 billion outstanding, which we need to find money to pay. The 1.7 billion that we have to pay the IPPs. We are going to sacrifice education, agriculture, health, any development that you can imagine to be able to pay the IPPs. But that's what ECG was doing with the money, with the revenues that they were collecting.
Serious. Majority Chief Whip, 2 minutes on this. We're a couple of just because this is a matter that I know you're going to get into in subsequent weeks.
Yes. The matter has been settled. Okay. During the transitional period, and I know that he's surprised with those facts, the handing over notes that we got from the Ministry of Energy indicated that we had about 2,491 containers at the port containing ECG cables. Okay, so we took the notes and needed to go audit these figures. When they did the audit, we discovered that we had only 1,134 containers at the port.
No, the transition said 3,000 containers. This is what the
yes, but eventually this was what. So what they discovered was about 1,000. They varied the figure.
Okay.
When the minister went to the ministry, okay, that's the sequence. When he got to the ministry, they varied downwards from 3,000 to 2,491. Then he decided to go and vet this figure, authenticate it. He got to the port, and he got only 1,134. So over 1,347 containers got missing. So he launched an investigation into the matter, and it came to light that there's a syndicate that are even selling these containers to companies, factories that will melt them into aluminium ingots and bars and plates and sell.
Right.
Some have been uncovered. So I am happy that the call for criminal prosecution came from a member of parliament on the side of the NPP in parliament. He made a statement. I think it's the ranking member on Committee on Energy.
Yes.
So we've all asked the minister to do the needful, to loan the security service. Whoever is in charge of the containers, wherever it is, they should locate them, they should prosecute. Whether you are alien or a citizen, you should be prosecuted.
Perfect. About Majority Chief Whip, thank you. Thank you so much as well. Your man,
Let me ask just one question.
Thank you. Yes, it's on it. It's on board. And then also to you, Bemwachi, as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend. My name is Alfred Ocansey.